Chapter 4369. Near the divine warship, a black shadow slowly emerged from the darkness. Upon closer inspection, the black shadow was actually a round black egg. There were complicated patterns on the surface of the egg, and it was currently emitting a faint glow. Crack, squeak, squeak. Suddenly, the black egg emitted a soft sound similar to the sound of metal rubbing against each other. The black egg slowly unfolded and a wretched figure slowly crawled out from the core of the egg. Fart. The figure spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale and there was still lingering fear in his eyes. Phew. I almost died. I didn't expect this formation to be so powerful. If it wasn't for the black god, I wouldn't even be left with dregs. The figure was a middle-aged man. He had a bitter smile on his face as he muttered to himself. Looks like Lord Blacklaw and the others have already started to move. I'd better leave quickly. The middle-aged man looked at the terrifying battle in the inner city and his eyes were filled with fear. His body trembled slightly and he planned to leave this place. Where do you plan to go, Feipungza? Just as the middle-aged man was about to escape, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out. Feipungza's pupils shrank to the size of needles. He quickly turned around and looked in the direction of the divine warship behind him. He saw a young demonic cultivator with demonic aura around him and scarlet eyes walking over leisurely. You didn't leave. Feipungza exclaimed. Feipungza looked at the young demonic cultivator walking over slowly. His eyes narrowed slightly as he heaved a sigh of relief. If it was Zilong, Ziyong, or the others who had returned, he might be a little afraid. However, it was just a young demonic cultivator with a low cultivation. Not only was he not afraid, but he was also very glad. The light demonic cultivator was Zhuoan, who had returned after leaving. When the peerless thunder god formation was wreaking havoc, everyone's attention was focused on the Black Law and neglected Feipungza. Later, the black egg that Feipungza was in disappeared into thin air. Everyone subconsciously thought that Feipungza had vanished into thin air within the formation. But none of this escaped Zhuoan's eyes. He had been paying attention to Feipungza for a long time, including his disappearance. His intuition told him that Feipungza's black god was definitely not as simple as it seemed. That was why he had used his argument with Zilong as an excuse to leave. Not long after he left, he quietly returned and waited for an opportunity near the divine ship. Sure enough, his guess was right. Feipungza was still alive. This black god ship is really incredible. It can actually blend into the darkness. Even if it's a starlight expert, if they don't observe carefully, they may not be able to detect the black god ship in the darkness. Wen's gaze landed on the black god ship. There was a trace of surprise and passion in his eyes. Black the divine ship was definitely the most unique and powerful divine ship he had ever seen. Such a divine ship was enough to match all the divine ships he had stored in the macro world. Feipungza narrowed his eyes and sneered, "What? You're still coveting my black god, but that's just wishful thinking." But Zhuoan was indifferent and said coolly, "Very soon, the black god will be mine. Do I still need to covet it? To me, it's just something that I can easily obtain." Humph. You're just looking for death. You're just trash at the peak of the Qian Kuan tribulation. Without the help of the formation, how can you be my opponent? Just die. Feipungza roared. Pungza was furious. He was an expert at the mid-cosmic Dharma stage. He was several levels higher than Zhuoan. Now, he was being looked down upon by Zhuoan. Naturally, he was extremely unhappy. He decisively took out his cosmic dharma and launched a thunderous attack at Zhuoan. However, the moment Feipungza swept out, he immediately discovered that countless strange formation patterns had appeared around him. The dense array patterns were like slithering snakes, wrapping around him like a huge python that was about to strangle its prey. Formation? When did you set it up? Feipungza asked. Pungza's limbs were all bound by the formation patterns. He looked at the young demonic cultivator in front of him in horror. Only the young demonic cultivator gently stretched out his right hand. There was a flash of lightning in his palm, and the formation patterns were surging out from it. While you were talking nonsense, I had already finished setting up my attack array. I've been waiting for you to make a move. Unfortunately, you've been talking too much. I'm getting a little impatient. Zhuo smiled. Wen grinned. He had the Thunder Origin Formation diagram and was a divine array master at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Therefore, he only needed half a breath to set up the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Impossible. How long has it been? And this is an attack formation at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Even if you're a divine array master at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm, it's impossible to set up such a formation in such a short time. Fei Pengzhe's face was full of disbelief. He almost screamed out loud. Then you can ask on your way to the underworld. Zhuowen's tone was calm. He clenched his right hand into a fist and exerted a little force. Fei Pengzhe's eyes suddenly bulged. He could clearly feel the power of the formation patterns around his body multiplying in an instant. While he could only watch helplessly as his body was continuously squeezed and crushed by the runes until he finally lost all consciousness. Zhuo Wen looked expressionlessly at Fei Pengzhe, who was being crushed by the formation. With a wave of his sleeve, he put away the formation around him. He was more and more satisfied with the Thunder Origin Formation diagram. Now, he only needed half a breath to set up the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Namely, even the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm only needed 10 breaths. Until early stage and early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm might take a lot of time. Zhuowen slowly came to the side of the black egg and gently placed his right palm on its surface. He could clearly feel the aura left by Fei Pengzhe gradually disappearing. He carefully examined it and found that the black god was still damaged to a certain extent, but it was not particularly serious and did not affect its important functions. Zhuo after when put the black god into the macro world, he handed it to Xiao He and asked him to repair it. Only yes, to Zhuowen's speechlessness, Xiao He's first reaction when he saw the black god was to eat it. He the sacred fire in the god was extremely tempting to Xiao He. For this reason, he kept whispering in Zhuowen's ear, which made Zhuowen very annoyed. If Zhuowen didn't value the role of the black god, he really intended to give it to Xiao He to devour, but not now. Little seeing Zhuowen so insistent, He no longer pestered him and agreed to repair the black god. After receiving the black god, Zhuowen found the figures of Lei Jiao and Lei Yu. The two of them passed through the air and headed for the inner city. While Zhu Wen came to Zhuowen under Zhuowen's notice. Zhu Yuan, are your grandmother and your great-grandfather going to the inner city to help? Zhuowen asked calmly. Zhu Yuan smiled bitterly and said, yes, my grandmother has a very good relationship with the great saintess Zi Yuan. This time, the great saintess asked her, so she didn't refuse. Master, you won't be unhappy, right? After all, the peerless Thunder God array is your. Zhu Yuan secretly glanced at Zhuowen and spoke very carefully, for fear of angering Zhuowen. Chapter 4370. The Peerless Thunder God formation was originally arranged by me for your Thunder Array clan. It is your Thunder Array clan's thing. I have no right to ask how you use it. Since this is Senior Lei Jiao's decision, I won't say anything. Zhuowen smiled, without blaming him, and continued, Zhu Yuan, come with me, and we will arrange another Peerless Thunder God formation together. Ah! Are you going to? The Zhu Yuan was surprised. Looking at the young demonic cultivator in front of him, he didn't know what the latter was selling. But he didn't refuse. He now has blind worship for Zhuowen, and he basically won't refuse the latter's request. Boom boom. The battle in the inner city of Sacred Jade City became more and more terrifying. Starlight shone, as if the end of the world had come. But wherever the starlight passed, the buildings in the inner city were all turned into decadent ruins. This Zi Qiong is really difficult to deal with. Her strength is not weaker than mine, and the city protection array of this inner city has a bonus effect on her. Luo Ya was suspended in the void, and behind her, a huge celestial giant was holding up the starlight world. Her pair of beautiful eyes stared solemnly at the woman who was also suspended in the air in front of her. The woman was dressed in a purple robe, with waist-length purple hair, wearing a crown of hazy starlight, and a pair of starry eyes, mysterious and dazzling like 2 stars. Her appearance was not outstanding, but it was extremely pleasant to look at, and after looking at it for a long time, it gave people a strange feeling of holiness. Emma, there is no doubt that she is a woman with a very good taste. She is Zi Qiong, one of the 2 female supremes of the Zixuan clan. She is also at the middle stage of the inverse ancient starlight stage. Blackfar's eyes were gloomy, and there was still congealed blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. His face was pale and bloodless. He had been seriously injured in the peerless Thunder God formation, and now he is facing Zi Qiong, who is stronger than him. Naturally, he is not feeling good. Black Fa, don't you know the specific location of the sacred fire source? I will hold Zi Qiong, you go and take out the sacred fire source. Luo Ya's beautiful eyes were serious, and she said to Black Fa. Black Fa looked at Zi Qiong opposite him, and said, then you be careful. After that, Black Fa bypassed Zi Qiong and swept towards the depths of the inner city. Zi Qiong saw Black Fa's action, and immediately knew the intention of the latter. Her beautiful eyes were cold, and she swept Black Fa as fast as lightning. However, Zi Qiong was blocked by Luo Ya the moment she shot out. Zi Qiong's your opponent, don't get the wrong persons. Ya smiled charmingly, but her movements were extremely ruthless, firmly entangling Zi Qiong. Luo Ya, don't go. Isn't your Luotian clan afraid that those lords of the transcendent world will blame you? Zi Qiong was flustered and exasperated. Her cultivation was similar to Luo Ya's. Although she had the advantage with the help of the Great City Barrier formation, it was not an overwhelming advantage. Luo Ya wanted to stop her, but she couldn't get away for a while. Zi Qiong, don't think that I don't know that the Zixuan clan's rise to power is based on the fact that you're using women as bargaining chips in exchange for the support of the supreme domain lords. But in reality, that's just fake news that you're deliberately misleading us. The reason why you can obtain the support of those supreme domain lords is because you have the sacred fire source. As long as our Luotian clan obtains the sacred fire source, your Zixuan clan will have no value in cooperating with us. Those supreme domain lords will naturally cooperate with our Luotian clan. At that time, do you think those supreme domain lords will have nothing better to do than to deal with our Luotian clan? After all, to them, it doesn't matter which clan they cooperate with. As long as their benefits aren't harmed, they won't reject our Luotian clan. Luo Ya's lips curled up. Her hands shot out like lightning, and terrifying attacks landed on Zi Qiong mercilessly, doing her best to obstruct Zi Qiong's advance. Zi Qiong was enraged. She used all her abilities, but she was still unable to break free from Luo Ya's control. She could only watch as Black Fa entered the depths of the inner city. When Black Fa rushed into a palace in the depths of the inner city, the holy maiden Zi Yuan led the other 3 holy maidens and blocked Black Fa's path. The 4 of you still want to block me? Are you courting death? Black Fa narrowed his eyes. Coldness and impatience could be seen in his eyes. The sacred fire source is the foundation of our Zixuan clan. We will protect it even if we die. The holy maiden Zi Yuan stood out. Her eyes were filled with determination. Zi Qiong, Xin, Zi Yong, and Zi Lian's beautiful eyes flickered. There was fear in their eyes. Zi Qiong. They were just heavily injured by Black Fa and almost died in his hands. Now that they had to face him again, they couldn't help but feel helpless. Are you? If it wasn't for the holy maiden's orders, they would have fled long ago. Black Fa didn't waste time talking nonsense with the holy maiden and the others. He knew that time was of the essence now. He couldn't waste any more time with these holy maidens. Scram! Black Fa roared. He instantly took out his heaven-defying ancient constellation and stepped out. Dense astral light revolved around him, causing him to be like a heavenly god descending to the mortal world, exuding an extraordinary might. Holy maiden Zi Yuan wasn't afraid at all. She was already half a step into the heaven-defying ancient starlight realm, and her strength was the strongest among the 5 holy maidens. She believed that if she joined forces with the other 3 holy maidens, they should be able to stop Black Fa for a while. However, the moment Zi Yuan attacked, she immediately sensed that something was wrong. She realized that Zi Xin, Zi Yong, and Zi Lian didn't attack. She couldn't help but look behind her, only to find that the 3 of them had all fallen to the ground. Behind the three of them stood a graceful young woman. Zilong. What did you do? The moment Zi Yuan saw the young woman, her expression changed. She said with a gloomy face, I only gave the three of them the god's corpse powder. At most, they will be unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights. And this period of time is enough for the three of them to die in the hands of this person. You will also die in his hands, and I will become the only holy maiden of the Zishen clan. As long as you are all dead, you won't be able to tell the holy maiden, and I won't be punished. So, holy maiden, it's better for you to die and fulfill my wish. Zilong's eyes were red, and she had fallen into some kind of madness. She knew very well that Zixin and the other two must have already complained to the holy maiden, Zi Yuan, and must have pushed all the blame onto her. None regardless of whether the Zishen clan could withstand the enemy's attack this time, she would be punished, and it would be a serious crime. As long as the holy maiden and the others were all dead, no one would report her to the holy maiden, and she would become the only holy maiden. From then on, her power would dominate the court, and her status would be unshakable. Zilong, you lunatic, I'm going to clean up the clan today. Zi Yuan was so angry that her chest heaved violently. She really didn't expect Zilong to ignore the overall situation. Just for her own selfish reasons, she would disregard the safety of the clan and kill them to silence them. Only yes, when Zi Yuan was about to teach Zilong a lesson, Zilong was already prepared and retreated. At the same time, Black Fa's attack had arrived, forcing Zi Yuan to turn around and deal with the aggressive Black Fa. Chapter 4371. Hei Fa watched coldly. He looked at Zilong strangely. He really didn't expect Zilong to be so smart. She actually took the initiative to attack her own people. Your Zishuan clan is really declining. Even the chosen saintess is such a scum. The divine fire source is completely buried in your hands. You might as well give it to us. Hei Fa's mouth curved into a mocking smile. He seized the opportunity and rushed toward Zi Yuan, not giving her any chance to breathe at all. As for Zilong, Hei Fa didn't care at all. She was such a scum who could betray her own clan. He couldn't wait to have more of her. How could he bear to kill her? Zilong took one last look at Zi Yuan, who was vomiting blood after being beaten by Hei Fa. She didn't dare to stay any longer and quietly left this place. Crack. 10 After a few breaths, Zi Yuan's cosmic image completely collapsed, and the crisp sound of shattering resounded in the surroundings. Among the countless fragments and light spots of the cosmic form, Zi Yuan fell from the sky like an angel with broken wings. She was in a sorry state. Bang! Zi Yuan smashed a huge hole in the ground. Countless smoke and dust dissipated, and the surrounding vision became completely grey. Hei Fa floated in the air. He didn't continue to attack. Instead, he rushed toward the palace where the divine fire source was hidden. Zi Yuan was seriously injured and was no longer a threat. He was pressed for time, so he naturally wouldn't waste any more time on Zi Yuan. Wait. It wouldn't be too late to kill Zi Yuan after he took out the divine fire source. At not long after Hei Fa entered the deepest palace, 2 more figures rushed in from outside the inner city. The 2 figures were careful not to get close to the battle between Zi Qiong and Luo Ya. Instead, they circled around and finally came to the front of the deepest palace. These 2 figures were an old woman with white hair and an old man. They were Lei Jiao and Lei Yu, who had received the request of the saintess. Saintess, are you okay? Lei Jiao quickly found the saintess, Zi Yuan, who was deeply injured in the pit not far away. She quickly ran over and helped her up. Cough. Cough. Zi Yuan coughed continuously, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Her face was as pale as snow. Lei Jiao, he is too strong. He is an expert at the early stage of the ancient starlight realm. You should leave quickly. When he comes out, you won't be able to leave. Great saintess, I've brought the peerless lightning god array. His name is Hei Fa. Earlier, he was trapped in the peerless divine lightning formation and almost died. If it wasn't for Luo Ya coming to save him, he would already be a corpse. Lei Jiao said in a deep voice. Purple hopeful look appeared in Yuan's eyes. If the unparalleled Thunder Divine Matrix was really so powerful, perhaps Lei Jiao and the others could really stop Hei. However, the real person who set up the unparalleled Thunder God Array is someone else. His name is Mo Wen. If he is in charge, black magic will definitely be trapped. If we are in charge, the power of the array will be greatly reduced. Jiao's eyes dimmed. Although she really wanted to ask for Zhuowen's help, Zilong had gone overboard. They did not have the face to ask for Zhuowen's help. Then please ask fellow Daoist Mo Wen to help preside. Our Zishuan clan will definitely not treat him unfairly after this, Zi Yuan hurriedly said. He is the demonic cultivator wanted by the Third Saintess. He is also the one who revealed the news of the attack to us. Unfortunately, the Third Saintess drove him away in anger. Jiao angrily recounted everything that had happened near the divine warship, including how Zilong had despised and even forced Zhuowen to do so. Purple Yuan's face darkened, and she almost cursed. Zilong was completely a hindrance to the Zishuan clan. She even wanted to kill the other 4 saintesses, including her, for her own selfish reasons. Zi Yuan took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She said, Lei Jiao, Lei Yu, I beg you to help us this time. After this, I will definitely give you and Mo Wen justice. Zilong will not be able to escape the punishment of the clan's rules. I will not tolerate it. Lei Jiao and Lei Yu were overjoyed. They had been unhappy with Zilong for a long time and were waiting for Zi Yuan to say this. They set up a shielding formation nearby in advance, and then placed the Great Saintess and the other 3 saintesses who were in a coma inside. My father and I will set up the Peerless Thunder God Array. As soon as Hei comes out, we will activate the Peerless Thunder God Array to take him down. After Jiao finished speaking, she walked outside the palace with Lei Yu. The 2 of them took out a disc array and made a complicated seal. According to the memory of the Peerless Thunder God Array in their minds, they constantly arranged and combined the dense array patterns that swept out of the disc array. Because the Peerless Thunder God Array was already formed in the disc array, it didn't take long for the 2 of them to set it up. In a quarter of an hour, the Peerless Thunder God Array was completely set up. Lei Yu put away his sleeve, and the Peerless Thunder God Array stopped, and a formation flag appeared in his hand. After doing this, Lei Jiao and Lei Yu quietly came to the nearby shielding formation and silently observed the movements in the depths of the palace. 2 hours later, a black shadow swept out of the palace. Black Ying's body exuded a blazing red light. The moment he came out, a terrifying wave of air hit like an explosion and instantly spread throughout the entire Zishuan sacred city. It's the sacred fire source. Inside the shielding formation, the great saintess Zi Yuan saw the fiery red sacred fire source in the black shadow's hand at a glance. The terrifying heat and blazing red light were emitted from this sacred fire source. Hei's right hand condensed most of the Nigu star's divine power, but his palm was still about to melt under the terrifying heat of the sacred fire source. And this was only a small part of the energy that was accidentally leaked by the sacred fire source. It's worthy of being the source of the sacred fire source. The energy that escapes can cause such great damage to me. Hei completely ignored his right palm that was about to melt, and his eyes were full of excitement. With this sacred fire source, he would become an immortal figure in the history of the Black Scale clan. He would become the most immortal existence in the history of the Black Scale clan. He would create miracles. Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis rose in Hei's mind. Suddenly, endless purple lightning surged in front of his eyes, sweeping over like an avalanche. Bang! Hei was caught off guard, and he was blasted flying by the terrifying purple lightning wave. He barely managed to stabilize his body, but he discovered that he was already enveloped by the dense purple lightning, and he was trapped within it like a prisoner imprisoned in the violet lightning prison. Damn it, it's this formation again. Hei's eyes revealed a look of horror. Just now, he almost died in this peerless lightning god formation. Boom! 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 The purple lightning seemed to have a consciousness and rushed toward Hei. They drew a strange trajectory in the air, blocking all of Hei's escape routes. Black Hei protected the sacred fire source while avoiding the purple lightning around him. The Nigu star form he summoned was constantly helping him block a part of the purple lightning that he couldn't avoid. Soon, he was shocked to find that the peerless lightning god formation this time was much weaker than last time. At least these purple lightning didn't make him breathless and exhausted. Chapter 4372. Without Nephew Mo when presiding over it, the peerless thunder god array is indeed much weaker. Let's not hold back anymore and summon the thunder god. Lei Yu glanced at Lei Jiao and changed the seal in his hand. Only the purple lightning of the peerless lightning god formation suddenly stopped. Then, they all gathered towards the center. In the end, they turned into a heart made purely of purple lightning. The heart kept beating, absorbing more and more purple lightning. It began to form flesh, bones, limbs, meridians, and so on, evolving into a mighty thunder god. Black Fa was very familiar with this scene. He had almost died under this strange thunder god form. But the current thunder god was much weaker than the first time. Although it was still very strong, it was not enough to put his life in danger. Sure enough, when the thunder god was formed, it was only evenly matched with Black Fa. It was unable to suppress him at all. Black Fa heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that the condensed thunder god would be the same as the last time. If that happened, he would really be dead. Fortunately, this array is not strong, so I have time to use this talisman. While resisting the thunder god's attack, Fa quietly took out a grayish-white talisman. This talisman was given to him by Luo Ya just now. It could spiritualize a part of his body and pass through the array. Originally, Black Fa planned to use this talisman to pass through the inner city's great defensive array after obtaining the sacred fire source. He did not expect to use it in advance. But he was not in a hurry. As long as he met up with Luo Ya, he could rely on her secret technique to leave the great defensive array. Only this talisman required a certain amount of time to activate. If the thunder god was still as strong as before, he would not have time to use it. But now, there was no such worry. Black Fa took out the talisman and formed a seal with his right hand. His left hand controlled the ancient constellation to resist the thunder god's attack. After 10 breaths of time, the grayish-white talisman spontaneously burned into ashes. The dense ashes covered Black Fa's body, causing it to gradually become transparent. When Black Fa's body completely spiritualized, he quickly rushed towards the edge of the array. Luo Ya was already urging him. He could not waste any more time here. Black Fa rushed out of the peerless thunder god array unimpeded. He did not even have time to look for Lei Jiao and Lei Yu who were setting up the array. He went straight to Luo Ya. At this moment, Luo Ya was in an extremely wretched state as blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. She dodged Zi Qiong's ferocious attacks as she urged Black Mage to attack. Zi Qiong was also extremely anxious. She had naturally sensed the terrifying wave of fire just now and knew that black magic had succeeded in obtaining the divine flame source. Let's go. Fa came to Zi Qiong's side and said in a deep voice. Lawyer didn't dare to be negligent. She grabbed Hei Fa's arm, and the two of them instantly entered spirit form. They quickly rushed out of the inner city. Where do you think you're going? Shocked and infuriated, Jade chased after Ji Hao and activated all the power of the defensive magic formation. The city-protecting grand array of the city was, after all, a grand array of the third heavens of the eternal realm. Its power was extremely terrifying. At first, she was worried that her clansmen were still inside the city, so she didn't fully exert the power of the grand array. Now that the inner city was empty, she no longer had any worries. Terrifying attacks were unleashed from every corner of the inner city. Then, they rained down like meteors, filling the entire space. The magnificent buildings, streets, and roads in the inner city were instantly turned into ruins. However, the Grand Array's terrifying attacks had no effect on Luo Ya and black magic. Instead, they passed through their bodies as if they were hitting air. Zi Qiong Jade gritted her teeth and hurriedly chased after them. She didn't believe that Luo Ya could maintain her spirit form forever. After leaving the Grand Array, Ya came into contact with spirit form. This secret technique was too much of a burden on her. She didn't dare to keep running in spirit form. The three of them, one chasing and one fleeing, quickly disappeared from Zishen's sacred city. Lo, that's right, no one noticed that outside Zishen Saint City, in a dark corner, a black divine ship blended into the night and quietly followed them. This great escape didn't last long. 2 hours later, in the sky above a great plain tens of billions of kilometers northwest of Zishen Sacred City, original Luo Ya and Black Magic, who were fleeing in a sorry state, suddenly stopped. They hovered in the air and turned to coldly look at Ziqiang, who was chasing after them. Ziqiang also stopped, keeping a distance of 1,000 meters from the two. Hand over the sacred fire source. It's not something you can take. Ziqiang didn't rush forward. She felt that there must be something wrong with Luo Ya and Black Magic's sudden stop. Ziqiang, don't you think that your Zishen sacred city has been sitting at the top of the higher realms for too long? All these years, the other 15 higher realms have been suppressed by your Zishen sacred city to the point of being unable to breathe. Every dog has its day. It's time for your Zishen sacred city to step down and let the other higher realms take over, Luo Ya said indifferently. What do you want to do? I've already informed the other lords of this matter. Very soon, Ziyang and another lord will descend to the Purple Jade Sacred City. At that time, your Luotian clan and Blackscale clan will be severely punished. Ziqiang coldly spoke. If it's only our 2 higher realms that participate, perhaps we really will be sanctioned. But what if the other higher realms participate as well? Will those lords of the supreme realms punish a dozen higher realms? As the saying goes, the law can't punish the majority. Don't you think so? Luo Ya's lips curled into a proud smile. Ziqiang's heart trembled. Her expression changed greatly. Don't tell me you. Before Ziqiang finished speaking, a terrifying crater appeared on the ground of the Great Plains. Waves of defying ancient starlight aura appeared on the Great Plains like a rapidly rising sun. In the blink of an eye, 11 figures appeared in the sky above the Great Plains. All of them were defying ancient starlight experts. Jade Feather Clan's Lin Yu, Blue Qian Clan's Lan Dao, Newer Clan's Huang Ju. Ziqiang saw these figures and found that they were all rulers of the various higher realms. Her heart sank. Apart from the Grand Sovereign of the Shuran clan, which was ranked last among the higher realms, all the Grand Sovereigns of the other 13 higher realms had come. A total of 13 defying ancient starlight experts. Among them, there were several mid-stage defying ancient starlight experts like Ziqiang. Ziqiang couldn't contend with such a lineup. You actually joined forces? There's only one sacred fire source. Even if you get it, how will you divide it? Why don't you help me capture Luo Ya and Heifa? The lords of the supreme realms will definitely reward you handsomely. There's no risk. Isn't that perfect? Ziqiang forced herself to be calm and tried to divide the 13 people. Haha. Ziqiang, your plan to sow discord is useless. We've been planning this for many years. We've already come up with a plan that everyone can accept. Each of our clans has the right to use the sacred fire source for 100 years. We'll take turns. This way, we can achieve true fairness and harmonious development. Even if the lords of the supreme realms come in person, I'm afraid they won't completely stand on the side of the Zishen clan. After all, there's no difference whether the sacred fire source is in our hands or in the hands of the Zishen clan. The Grand Sovereign of the newer clan, Huang Ju, laughed and spoke first. His words were full of sarcasm. Chapter 4373. Ziqiang's face turned pale, and her heart sank. Tenshi was only at the middle stage of the defying ancient starlight realm. How could she resist the joint attack of 3 high-level domains? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While Ziqiang was still in a daze, 13 defying ancient starlight powerhouses surrounded her in a ring. Their surging divine power swept over like sharp blades, causing Ziqiang to feel a chill all over her body. Luo Ya and Heifa stood at the forefront, looking at the shocked and angry Ziqiang with sarcastic eyes. Also, what goes around comes around. Just now, Ziqiang had chased them like stray dogs, but now the situation was reversed. You have already obtained the sacred fire source. That's enough. Are you going to kill me to silence me? Ziqiang said in a trembling voice. At knowing that all the high-level domains had joined forces, she knew that she couldn't get the sacred fire source back. Even if female Supreme Ziyang came with the superiors of the super domains, it would be difficult for them. There were a total of 15 high-level domains outside the 100 domains. Now that 13 high-level domains had joined forces, this force was extremely huge. The superiors of the super domains wouldn't fall out with so many high-level domains just to protect the Zishen domain. By every year, the super domains had to collect extremely objective resources from these high-level domains, which was also one of their main sources of income. Now Ziqiang's only thought was to escape. Since things had become a foregone conclusion, it was useless for her to work hard. Now, her only thought was to survive. Ziqiang, that won't do. Your Zishen clan is still too strong. 2 defying ancient starlight powerhouses are enough to make many of our high-level domains fearful. As long as your Zishen clan only has 1 defying ancient starlight powerhouse, it will be the best. Huang Ju of the newer clan said slowly. His voice wasn't loud, but it was full of malice. Ziqiang's heart tightened. Seeing the terrifying killing intent in the eyes of everyone around her, she knew that these people weren't going to let her go. She quietly took out a talisman. The moment she was about to use it, a golden light flashed in front of her eyes and took away the talisman she took out. Ziqiang, don't even think about leaving today. For the Zishen clan, you'd better sacrifice yourself. Ju waved his right hand, and the strange golden light appeared in his palm. Ziqiang's talisman also appeared in Huang Ju's hand. Huang Ju was very cautious. After surrounding Ziqiang, he kept a close eye on her movements. Naturally, he wouldn't give her any chance to escape. Attack! Luo Ya's beautiful eyes gleamed with a cold light as she roared. The 13 experts from the star-defying ancient constellation no longer wasted time. All of them took out their respective star-defying ancient constellations and attacked Ziqiang with all their might. Joan's shrill screams reverberated between heaven and earth. She struggled to hold on, but her injuries were getting worse and worse. She was like a dying fish. In the darkness several thousand kilometers away from this terrifying battle, Zhuowen stood on the deck of the Black God ship, silently observing this overwhelming battle. It wasn't accurate to call it a great battle. This was simply a massacre. This female Supreme Ziqiang is dead for sure. I just don't know how I'll get the sacred fire source from Luo Ya's hands. Zhuowen muttered to himself. After Luo Ya and He successfully left the sacred city of Purple Jade, Zhuowen knew that the 2 of them had succeeded. That was why he steered the Black God ship behind them. Only what he didn't expect was that there were so many experts from the star-defying ancient constellation participating in this plan. Namely, even though Zhuowen was skilled and bold, he was still frightened. His original plan was to wait until Ziqiang, Luo Ya, and He were all injured, then he could sit back and reap the benefits. Now he knew that this plan wouldn't work. But he was unwilling to leave just like that. After seeing the magical effect of the sacred fire source that could give birth to the sacred fire source must be an extremely extraordinary object. And he was sure that this thing should be of great benefit to Xiao He. Divine. If the sacred fire source could be refined by Xiao He, perhaps Xiao He could evolve again, which would be of great help to his strength. Wait patiently. Zhuowen's eyes flickered, but in the end, he still patiently waited silently. Far away the battle didn't last long. Ziqiang was alone. Even if he used all his skills, it was impossible for him to be a match for so many experts from the star-defying ancient constellation. In the end, under the joint force of the 13 star-defying ancient constellation, Ziqiang's body and soul were destroyed. In the end, he only let out a cry of despair and unwillingness. After killing Ziqiang, Luo Ya, Huang Ju, and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. Then, their eyes fell on He. Feeling so many gazes, He was quite nervous. He laughed dryly and said, "Everyone, don't look at me like that. The sacred fire source is on me. I won't lose it." With that, He took out the sacred fire source. A blazing and spiritual fiery red light bloomed, exuding an extremely terrifying temperature. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding was filled with high temperature, as if it had turned into an unbearable huge furnace. Everyone's eyes were focused on He's palm. Only a flame the size of a palm slowly appeared in his palm. The flame slowly jumped like a stream of flames, flickering with extraordinary fluctuations. It is indeed the sacred fire source, Luo Ya said. Luo Ya, Huangju, and the others all nodded. Although they had never seen the real sacred fire source, the strong spirituality and powerful aura emitted by this flame made no one doubt that it was a fake. Since we have confirmed that this is the real sacred fire source, next, we should discuss the distribution of this sacred fire source, right? Lan Dao of the Blue Qian clan said with a smile. Everyone fell into silence. Huang Ju was the first to speak. According to our previous discussion, this time the sacred fire source was successfully stolen mainly because of Luo Ya and He. The two of them have the first right to use it. The first 200 years of use will be divided between the two of them. As for the remaining 11 clans, we will jointly hold a competition between the younger generation. The corresponding order of use will be divided according to the ranking of the battle results. Lan Dao, Lin Yu, and the others all nodded secretly. This was the plan they had agreed on, and they had made a heavenly oath in advance. Therefore, they were not afraid that Huang Ju and the others would do anything to it. He quietly breathed a sigh of relief. His strength could only be considered to be at the bottom of the 13 people, so he did not have the right to speak. He was given this opportunity mainly because he had planted the most informants in Zixuan Holy City and had the most connections. In addition, his ability was more special, so he had the opportunity to participate. Otherwise, such a good thing would not have happened to him. Chapter 4374. He, your contribution is the greatest. If you want to be the first to use the sacred fire source, I will give this opportunity to you. Luo Ya came in front of He and smiled faintly. He waved his hand and said humbly, "You are too kind, fellow Daoist Luo Ya. You contributed the most this time. If it weren't for you, I would have fallen in Zixuan Holy City. Naturally, the sacred fire source will be used by you first." He thought that Luo Ya would agree, but he didn't expect Luo Ya to keep a straight face and shake her head. I, Luo Ya, am not a greedy person. Can't I see who contributed the most this time? I only contributed a little, but not only did you contribute, but you also contributed a lot of people and materials. You spent a lot of effort. You can use the sacred fire source first. He was stunned. He took a deep look at Luo Ya and saw that she didn't seem to be polite. Finally, he nodded. Keep the sacred fire source. This is a matter of great importance. Don't lose it. Luo Ya reminded. He carefully put the sacred fire source into the storage space divine tool and said seriously, "Fellow Daoist Luo Ya, don't worry. This thing is more precious than my life. I will never lose it. Everyone, I have decided to let the Black Scale clan use the sacred fire source for 100 years. Now, let fellow Daoist He leave first. We will leave in an hour." Luo Ya suddenly said loudly. The other experts who were still discussing quieted down. They glanced at Luo Ya and then looked at He. Although they were surprised, they didn't take it to heart. Although some people were dissatisfied with Luo Ya's request to wait for an hour, they could understand that Luo Ya was preventing them from following He with ulterior motives and taking the sacred fire source for themselves. "Everyone, we will meet again," He said. He first bowed to Luo Ya, then cupped his hands to everyone. Without looking back, he flew towards the western horizon and quickly disappeared into the depths of the darkness. Luo Ya, Huang Ju, and the others waited for an hour before leaving one after another. However, what they didn't notice was that in the instant He left, there was an indiscernible shadow that silently followed He. In the shadows, Zhuoan stood on the deck, his eyes shining with excitement. At this moment, he was still thinking about how to obtain the divine fire source, but at this moment, Hey Fa, Luo Ya, and the others gave him such a big surprise. Zhuo Wen followed closely behind Hey Fa. The latter was very cautious. After leaving a certain distance, he would hide and observe the surroundings. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he would move forward cautiously again. While furthermore, Hey Fa did not follow the fixed route back to the black scale domain. Instead, he deliberately took many detours. He was afraid that the other clan masters with ulterior motives would lay in ambush along the fixed route back to the black scale domain in advance. However, he did not expect that in reality, he had already been targeted long ago. Zhuoan could not help but inwardly praise the Black God's miraculous capabilities as he watched Black Mage, who was constantly dodging and evading his attacks. After the Black God ship had completely merged into the darkness, even a starlight-defying era expert like Hey Fa couldn't sense it. Only the first limitation was that the Black God ship's concealment ability could only take effect in the dark of the night. The limitations were actually quite large. At this moment, when dawn was about to break, Hey Fa had already arrived above a dense forest at the edge of the Purple Jade domain. Hey Fa planned to head to the nearest middle-level domain after leaving the Purple Jade domain. With the help of the teleportation array, he would continuously teleport between various middle-level domains. Finally, he would be teleported to the few middle-level domains that were subordinate to the Black Scale domain. Then, he would directly fly back to the Black Scale domain. That way, he would be completely safe. Whoosh, whoosh. All of a sudden, the sound of something breaking through the air came from behind Hey Fa without any concealment. Hey Fa's muscles tensed up. He suddenly jumped up and turned to look at the Black God ship that was breaking through the air. Black God ship. Is that Fei Pengzi? Hey Fa narrowed his eyes. Soon, he saw the figure on the deck of the Black God ship. He could not help but exclaim in surprise, "It's you. You're actually not dead." Hey Fa immediately recognized Zhuoan. He felt that it was inconceivable. This wasn't this guy frozen into an ice sculpture by Luoya's power? Under the influence of such power, not to mention a Cosmos Tribulation cultivator, even a pinnacle cosmic Dharma phase expert would die. How did this guy survive? The Black God ship was extremely fast. It was like a black lightning bolt. In the blink of an eye, it flashed before Hey Fa's eyes and came to his left. Hey Fa was also horrified to find that Zhuoan, who was on the deck, gently grasped the air with his right hand. A strange array flag appeared in his palm. Only seeing that he threw the array flag in his hand towards Hey Fa, waves of abundant array patterns swept over like countless swimming fish. In the blink of an eye, they enveloped Hey Fa, who had yet to react. Boom, boom. Originally in the sky above the originally calm forest, there was a continuous and terrifying sound of thunder. Bolts of purple lightning poured down like a rainstorm and all of them landed on Hey Fa's body. Hey Fa summoned his inverse ancient celestial body to defend against the strange purple lightning that descended around him. His face was so gloomy that it seemed like it could drip water. Now, he only wanted to curse in his heart. Why is it this unparalleled lightning god formation again? Are there no other new tricks? Am I going to fight with the unparalleled lightning god formation today? Thump, thump. Hey Fa quickly discovered in shock that this unparalleled lightning god formation was much stronger than Lei Jia's and Lei Yu's. It was completely comparable to the unparalleled lightning god formation that had almost killed him the first time. While his inverse ancient celestial body was barely able to resist the purple lightning. It was even completely at a disadvantage. Clang. After the endless purple lightning began to condense into that strange heart, Hey Fa was completely terrified. He knew that when the real lightning god appeared, he would no longer be a match for it. This time, he wasn't as lucky as last time. Luoya had come to save him, and he had already used the talisman that Luoya had given him last time. Zhuoan stood on the deck of the Black God ship and silently watched as the lightning god continued to condense. He watched as Hey Fa was suppressed by the lightning god until he was covered in injuries. In the end, he watched as Hey Fa let out an unwilling roar. Under the lightning god's fist, his flesh and blood flew and his soul was destroyed. After confirming Hey Fa's death, Zhuoan didn't immediately remove the unparalleled lightning god formation. Instead, he took the formation flag and entered the formation to personally check on Hefei's situation. He was very clear that the methods of these inverse ancient celestial body cultivators were much stranger than the cosmic Dharma manifestation cultivators. He couldn't guarantee that Hefei didn't have other tricks up his sleeve. It was always better to be cautious. Hefei's Dharma body had already been destroyed, leaving only a necklace-like storage artifact. Zhuoan picked up the necklace that had been thrown on the ground. This necklace was suffused with a sparkling silver light, as if it had a spirit. It was swallowing and emitting an extraordinary spirit. Item there was a rather powerful restriction on the surface of the chain. When Zhuoan's consciousness probed into the necklace, he immediately encountered an obstruction. Hefei isn't dead yet. The moment his consciousness encountered an obstruction, Zhuoan immediately realized that something was wrong. The restriction on the storage artifact was connected to the owner's soul. If the owner died, the restriction on the storage artifact would naturally collapse. However, Zhuoan encountered an obstruction on the necklace. Obviously, Hefei's soul hadn't completely dissipated. At the moment when Zhuoan felt that something was wrong, the necklace in his hand suddenly circulated with a golden light. This golden light shot out like an arrow from a bow and fiercely drilled into the depths of Zhuoan's forehead. Chapter 4375. When the golden light completely entered the space between Zhuoan's eyebrows, Zhuoan felt an intense pain spread through his mind. It was as if an awl was ruthlessly pounding his temples. It was extremely painful. Possession. When held his temples, but his eyes were extremely cold. He immediately realized Hefei's intention. However, he did not panic. The primordial stone was in the depths of his soul, and the primordial technique he cultivated was even more extraordinary. That is, even if Hefei's cultivation was higher than his and his soul was stronger than his, wanting to possess him was probably courting death. Sure enough, not long after, Zhuoan heard Hefei's mournful screams in the depths of his soul. What is this thing? How can it have such a mysterious and unfathomable power? No! No! Save me! Hefei's voice was hoarse. Hefei's voice became more and more hurried and terrified. Finally, it gradually disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the intense pain in the depths of Zhuoan's soul was also alleviated, and his entire body gradually relaxed. He knew that the remnant of Hefei's soul was completely finished. At the same time, after Hefei had completely fallen, the restriction on the surface of the necklace in Zhuoan's hand finally disappeared. Zhuoan's divine sense swept around inside and discovered many precious resources. Most importantly, he saw his target in the deepest part of the necklace, the sacred fire source. At the same time, after that, Zhuoan steered the black god and quietly left this place. At the same time, the aftermath of his battle with Hefei was not small. It must have attracted the attention of many experts nearby. Naturally, it was not good to stay here for long. Just in case, Zhuoan did not swagger back to Zhixian Holy City. Instead, he hid in the depths of a secluded mountain range and waited for the curtain of night to fall. At the same time, in the darkness, the black god was the most useful. Moreover, his whereabouts were also the least likely to be exposed. At the same time, while waiting for the curtain of night to fall, Zhuoan entered the outside world. He handed the sacred fire source to Xiao He and began to organize the various resources and treasures in Hefei's storage artifact. This sacred fire source had unimaginable benefits for weapon cultivators. This thing was very magical. It could allow all weapons to undergo an unimaginable evolution in a short period of time. With this sacred fire source, I can break through to the third heavenly layer of eternal realm in a short time. Inside the world, Xiao He looked greedily at the divine fire source floating in front of him, and his voice became extremely excited. During this period of time, Xiao He had often brought up the matter of the sacred fire seed in front of Zhuoan. Because Zhuoan refused to hand over the sacred fire seed in the black godship to him, Xiao He was filled with resentment and would often nag at Zhuoan. Zhuoan was almost annoyed to death by this guy's nagging. The sacred fire source is the source of the sacred flame seed. With this, you should be satisfied. Zhuoan shrugged and said to Xiao Hei, whose eyes were shining. I'm satisfied. Of course he was satisfied. Zhuoan, you're really a good brother. I didn't treat you as a brother in vain. Xiao Hei hugged the sacred fire source, not fearing the terrifying temperature on the surface of the sacred fire source. He loved it so much that he couldn't bear to part with it. Zhuoan rubbed his forehead. He still remembered that Xiao Hei had been nagging in front of him for the past few days that he didn't treat him as a brother, that he had changed, and so on. Now, he changed his tone quite quickly. This guy was even more fickle than a woman. Xiao Hei, you said that this sacred fire source can promote the evolution of weapons. Can it also make the black godship evolve once again? Zhuoan asked in a deep voice. Little Black regained its calmness. It put its pair of little claws behind its back, shook its legs, and muttered, theoretically, it can. However, I still haven't figured out the function of the sacred fire source. After I've figured it out, I will remodel the black godship. There are still some flaws in the black godship's attack. When the time comes, I will plan again. After Xiao Hei obtained the sacred fire source, he left like a thief and went to study the usage of the sacred fire source alone. Zhuoan, on the other hand, inspected the outside world. He found that the outside world was becoming more and more real. The laws here were also becoming more and more complete. All kinds of creatures were also sprouting up like bamboo shoots after the rain, emerging one after another. The outside world is becoming more and more powerful. The laws here are intertwined, forming a world barrier. I'm afraid that it's already stronger than many of the lower realms outside the 100 domains. Zhuoan muttered to himself. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but curve up. He had nurtured the outside world from its origins until now. It was like his child. He had watched it grow stronger with his own eyes. He couldn't help but feel proud. Thinking of his child, Zhuoan couldn't help but think of his son, Mu Chenxue, who was still wandering the starry sky, waiting for him. Zhuoan, who had recalled the past, couldn't help but tear up. The longing in his heart made him cry uncontrollably. I wonder how Chen Shui, Junan, my parents, and my friends are doing. Although Zhuoan really wanted to return to the starry sky to see those people he missed, he knew that it wasn't the right time yet. He didn't see the reason why he set foot on the Hongmeng path and entered the 100 domains outside the domain B to become stronger and then solve the problem of the newer clan. Although the 10,000-year deadline was far from over, the newer clan's Grand Sovereign Huang Ju still couldn't find the specific location of the starry sky. However, this matter was a threshold that Zhuoan couldn't cross. If he didn't completely solve the newer clan's Grand Sovereign, Zhuoan naturally wouldn't return to the starry sky. While in addition, he had to find Moyan Wushang. No matter what, he had to make things clear to Moyan Wushang. After all, she was Zhuoan and Mu Chenshue's best friend. Master, why are you suddenly crying? Is there sand in your eyes? Zheng Zheng asked. While Zhuowen was deep in thought, an untimely voice interrupted Zhuowen's train of thought. Zhuowen came back to his senses and looked at Shapotian, who was looking at him with his head tilted. He rubbed his eyes and said awkwardly, it should be, hey, you've already broken through the heavens? Wen wiped the corners of his eyes and suddenly exclaimed. He found that Shapotian's aura was much more vigorous than before. He had unknowingly crossed the Tao confirmation stage and smoothly entered the heaven-breaking realm. While it wasn't the heaven-breaking first change, the divine embryo change, but the heaven-breaking second change, the spirit change. Shapotian rubbed his head and said embarrassedly, Hehe, I don't know why. I didn't usually cultivate, but he broke through just like that. Especially when the laws of the great world became more and more abundant and stronger, my cultivation speed also became faster and faster. Then, I broke through the heavens in a daze. Wen was speechless. He sighed in his heart that Shapotian was really lucky. This kid was simply gifted. He had already confirmed his Tao at birth and could quickly break through by eating, sleeping, and playing. Isn't this the cultivation method that many cultivators yearn for even in their dreams? No. Zhuoan also knew that this was directly related to the continuous evolution of the Great World. After all, Shapotian was the first intelligent creature born in the Great World. He had a close relationship with the Great World. Chapter 4376. Next, Zhuoan met with Shan Lingyun, Duan Jipeng, Zhu Yuan, and others in the outside world. After a while, he learned that Ziyu, who was a hostage, was in good condition, and he was relieved. Ziyu is still of great use to him, so he naturally can't let anything happen to her. Dang, after nightfall, Zhuoan quietly took out the black god, merged into the deep darkness, and quietly headed for the sacred city of Zishen. This place is not particularly far from the sacred city of Zishen. Before dawn, Zhuoan successfully arrived in the sacred city of Zishen. Distance very close to the divine ship, Zhuoan plans to stay in the sacred city of Zishen for the next few days, waiting for the divine ship to set sail. At the invitation of Zhu Yuan, Zhuoan went to the Thunder Array clan. After returning to the Thunder Array clan, they learned that Lei Jiao, Lei Yu and Chen Yin were not there. It was said that they were all summoned to the inner city. Ziyang female venerable is back. After learning the news from the servants of the Thunder Array clan, Zhu Yuan was quite surprised. Ziyang female venerable is more mysterious than Ziqiang female venerable. She is also the most powerful female venerable of the Zishen clan. It is said that she is already in the late stage of the anti-ancient starlight stage. This strength is also at the top of the 15 higher realms. Since ancient times, there has been no existence in the higher realms of the anti-ancient starlight stage. This is not to say that the higher realms cannot produce anti-ancient starlight stage cultivators, but cultivators at this level will be recruited by the major forces of the super realms. By the limitations of the higher realms are too great. If the anti-ancient starlight stage cultivators want to continue to climb up, they can only go to the super realms. And these powerhouses who go to the super realms rarely return to the higher realms. Many of them even leave their original clans and completely join the forces of the super realms and become the subordinates of those forces. Often the impression of Zhu Yuan, Ziyang female venerable rarely stays in the sacred city of Zishen. Most of the time, she is in the super realms. It seems that Ziqiang female venerable sent a message to Ziyang female venerable in advance. Unfortunately, she is still too late. Zhu Yuan whispered. Zhuowen frowned and said, Zishen sacred city only has one divine warship, right? And the divine warship is the only tool to travel to the supreme realm. Then how did female supreme Ziyang return to Zishen sacred city from the supreme realm? Master, you don't know. The purple jade sacred city was the only divine warship in the higher realms, but there were many in the super realms. Many of the major forces in the super realms have their own divine warships. It's just that these divine warships are privately owned, so they will only be parked in the super realms. When the experts of the super realms want to descend to the lower realms, they will use their private divine warships to descend. Female Supreme Ziyang should have come here on the private divine ship of a certain force. The Zhu Yuan explained to Zhuowen with a wry smile. Zhuowen nodded in realization. So that was how it was. It seemed that the manufacturing process of the divine warship was controlled by the major forces of the supreme realm. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a high-level realm to only have one divine warship. Moreover, it was given to the Zishen clan by a major figure of the supreme realm. It could also be considered as a disguised form of controlling cultivators from higher realms and below to barge into superior realms. Grandmother suddenly sent me a message and asked us to go to the female supreme hall in the inner city. The Zhu Yuan, who was going to take Zhuowen into the good room on the ground of the Thunder Array clan, suddenly stopped, took off the communication jade from his waist, and checked the strange tunnel. I'm afraid this is the Great Holy Maiden or female Supreme Ziyang's idea. Let's go, otherwise, it's easy to be suspected. Zhuowen said calmly. When the two left the Thunder Array clan and headed for the inner city, in the female Supreme Hall, the Great Holy Maiden led the three Holy Maidens to stand silently. Opposite the Great Holy Maiden were Lei Jiao, Lei Yu, and Chen Yin. The three of them were also nervous and very respectful. In the middle of the two teams, the third holy maiden Zilong's limbs were bound, and she knelt in the center, her face full of horror. In front of the hall, there was a slightly high platform with golden flames on both sides. In the center of the platform, there were two condescending figures. The two figures were a man and a woman. The man stood in the front position. He looked young, with his hands behind his back, and there was a noble and proud look between his eyebrows. His body was vaguely exuding a frightening aura. The woman stood slightly behind. She was extremely young, and her whole body exuded a mature beauty, especially her face, full and delicate, exuding a mature taste like a peach. Her eyes were even more captivating, making it difficult for people to move their eyes away. This young woman is the most powerful female supreme of the Zishen clan, female supreme Ziyang. It is, this noble female supreme Ziyang, but she looked at the man in front of her with awe, and there was an imperceptible fanaticism and reverence in her eyes. Ziyang, I don't care about the private affairs of your clan, but you must get the sacred fire source back to me, otherwise, you will lose any value. The young man waved his sleeve lightly, and multicolored energy condensed into an armchair behind him. He sat down leisurely and said lazily. Ziyang trembled slightly. She could clearly hear the chill in the depths of the young man's lazy voice. This lord is extremely powerful and is an existence that cannot be provoked. If I don't handle it well, the Zishen clan and I will really be in danger. Strong, after calming down, Ziyang secretly took a breath, and her beautiful eyes stared coldly at the third saintess Zilong. Ziyangshi had already learned the ins and outs of the situation in St. Jade City from the first saintess Ziyuan, and had also received confirmation from the other three saintesses. Because Zilong's series of wrong decisions ultimately led to the Zishen clan falling into a passive position from the beginning. Even in the end, Zilong did not repent and tried to make up for her mistakes. Instead, she helped Heifa kill the first saintess and the others to silence them. Her behavior could no longer be described as bad. Even more, what made Ziyang angry was that she found Ziqiang's life jade shattered last night, which meant that Ziqiang had fallen. Ziyang did not make this matter public, nor did she dare to make it public. If it was made public, not only would this lord be completely disappointed in the Zishen clan, but the entire Zishen clan would also panic and fall into complete chaos. And all this was caused by Zilong's stupidity. Ziqiang, do you have any last words? Ziyang suppressed her anger, not allowing herself to lose her composure, and coldly looked at Zilong, who was kneeling on the ground. Zilong's delicate body trembled uncontrollably, and her face was full of horror. She shouted herself hoarse, Lord Ziyang, you can't blame me for this. It's all that demonic cultivator's fault, it's him, he's been misleading me all this time. He even has the special ability to control people's hearts. It was because I was controlled by him that I did these beastly things. Long was flustered and at a loss. She began to babble nonsense, intending to push all the blame onto Zhuo Wen. She knew that this was the only way she could think of to deal with the situation. What a bunch of nonsense. Nephew Mo Wen clearly warned you out of kindness, but you doubted him time and time again, and even put him on the wanted list. Later, at the divine worship, it was also him who saved you, but not only were you not grateful, you even shamelessly slandered him. Zilong, you're really disgusting. Lei Jiao could not bear it any longer and could not help but curse out loud. She had long been unhappy with Zilong, and now that Zilong was still spouting nonsense, she did not care that female sovereign Ziyang was present and fiercely refuted Zilong. Chapter 4377. Ziyang Da Ren, Zilong is indeed a bunch of nonsense. The demonic cultivator named Mo Wen did save Zilong and the other three, and the attack was also told to us by Mo Wen. Originally, if we had prepared in advance, we could have kept the sacred fire source and dragged it until you arrive. But all of this was destroyed because of a series of stupid decisions by Zilong. Holy Maiden Ziyuan also quickly came out to plead for Zhuoan, whom she had never met before. Although she had never seen Zhuoan, from the feedback given to her by Lei Jiao, she knew that Zhuoan had no malice towards their Zishen clan, so she had a good impression of Zhuoan. Zilong's face was pale and ashen. She knew that her struggle was useless. With so many people accusing her, She had no way out. Take Zilong down and put her in the death cell. According to the clan rules, she will be beheaded at the outer city gate in 3 days. Ziyang said expressionlessly. Zilong lowered her head in despair. She still wanted to argue, but her ability to speak was sealed by the great holy maiden Zi Yuan, and then she was dragged down by 2 guards. After Zilong was taken away, Zhuowen and Zhu Yuan stepped into the hall under the lead of a guard. At the entrance of the hall, Zhuowen and Zilong passed by. He silently looked at Zilong, whose face was ashen, and knew that the latter should have been convicted. He was afraid that there would be no chance for her to turn over. After the guard left respectfully, Zhuowen and Zhu Yuan went to Lei Jiao's team. "You are Mo Wen. Thank you so much before." Holy Maiden Zi Yuan was natural and graceful, her beautiful eyes fell on Zhuowen, and she smiled kindly. Zhuowen also returned the salute, but his eyes were silently looking at Ziyang Da Ren on the platform in front of him and the middle-aged man who was sitting on the energy chair and enjoying himself lazily. This both of them gave him an extremely dangerous feeling, especially the lazy middle-aged man, who was even more dangerous than Ziyang Da Ren. "Are you Mo Wen? Can you tell me how you knew about Heifa and the others attacking the divine warship?" Female Supreme Ziyang stood on the platform and looked down at Zhuowen, her beautiful eyes slightly narrowed. In from the conversation between Zi Yuan and Lei Jiao, she learned that this young demonic cultivator was just a rogue cultivator with no background. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the peak of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. This is with such a cultivation base, how did he manage to find out about Heifa and the others' plan? Zhuowen frowned slightly. He was a little disgusted by Ziyang's arrogant questioning, but he also knew that he could not refuse to answer now that he was in the core of the Zishuan clan. He calmly recounted his experience in the underground black market. Of course, there were some things that he couldn't talk about, so he naturally ignored them. Purple. After hearing this, female Supreme Yang's eyes softened. Especially after learning that Zhuowen was a God Array master at the third sky of the Eternal Realm, the doubts in her heart dissipated. After asking a few more questions, female Supreme Ziyang didn't ask any more tricky questions, and Zhuowen also silently retreated to Lei Jiao's group. Zhuowen was puzzled. He glanced at Ziyang, who looked calm as usual. Purple. The fall of Qiong should be an unprecedented event for the Zishuan clan. However, after returning to Zishen Sacred City, he did not feel any sadness on anyone's face. Everything seemed to be normal. It seems that this matter should have been suppressed by Ziyang. Even the great saintess and the others did not get the news. Zhuowen took a deep look at female supremacy Ziyang and thought to himself. With the alliance of 13 higher realms, he understood that even with the middle-aged man she brought, they might not be able to get the sacred fire source back. Situation, and now that the sacred fire source was in his hands, it was even more impossible. Zhuowen was very clear that in the next period of time, there would be a great chaos among the higher realms surrounding the sacred fire source. And as the ultimate beneficiary of this time, Zhuowen must keep a low profile and leave Zishen Sacred City as soon as possible. Purple Ziyang was obviously a little absent-minded. After not getting enough clues, she waved her hand in disappointment, and the great saintess and the others got up and left. Very soon, only Ziyang and the middle-aged man were left in the depths of the hall. "Ziyang, are you hiding something from me?" The middle-aged man was still sitting lazily on the illusory chair. His eyes were as sharp as a knife, and he looked indifferently at Ziyang, who was a little distracted, and asked coldly. Ziyang forced a smile and said, "Sir, I am not hiding anything." "Is that so? I've received messages from several great clan masters from higher realms. They said that Zi Qiong has fallen." The middle-aged man leaned back and played with the communication jade talisman in his hand as he joked. Purple Ziyang's face became incomparably pale, and her delicate body trembled. She braced herself and said, "Zi Qiong. Zi Qiong has fallen. What is going on?" The middle-aged man did not care about Ziyang's clumsy performance and continued, "Zi Qiong's fall also means that she failed to protect the sacred fire source. Now, the sacred fire source is no longer in the hands of your Zishen clan." Ziyang hurriedly said, "Sir, don't worry, I will definitely take back the sacred fire source. I will not let you down. Good. Oh, by the way, you probably don't know how Ziqiang fell. She was killed by the combined efforts of 13 great race masters from the higher realms. And now, the sacred fire source is jointly owned by them, and they take turns to use it, and the interval is 100 years. And they plan to increase the offerings to the various super realms by another 20%. In other words, if you still want our assistance and support, not only do you need to seize the divine fire source from them, you also need to increase the offerings by at least 50%. And I will not interfere in this matter. This is the decision of the higher-ups of the other realms. The middle-aged man spoke slowly, and his words were like a heavy hammer to Ziyang's heart, making her feel suffocated. If you can do it, your Zixian clan will still receive our support. The middle-aged man slowly stood up. He looked at the dumbstruck Ziyang as a mocking smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. After which, he turned around and waved his sleeve, disappearing into thin air, leaving behind only an ethereal voice. Once you've made up your mind, send me a message and let me see how determined you are. Ziyang slowly knelt on the ground and did not speak for a long time. The next day, many uninvited guests came to the Black Scale realm, and all the members of the Black Scale clan came out to welcome them with the most solemn ceremony. Dissipation. The news spread throughout the entire Black Scale holy city, and most of the members of the Black Scale clan heard the news and came to the city gate to watch. Chapter 4378. The Luotian clan, the Blue Qian clan, the Jade Feather clan, the Newer clan, a total of 12 clans have come. Except for the Shuran clan and the Zixian clan, almost all the clans of the higher domains have come. What the hell is going on? Why are they all here? I don't know. Since the great clan master left the sacred city, he hasn't come back yet. I don't know if he was delayed by other things. Now that so many experts have come, I don't know if the second clan master can handle it. The clansmen of the Black Scale clan whispered to each other. Their eyes were filled with curiosity and awe. The Black Scale clan could only be regarded as a middle or lower level clan among the 15 higher domains. Now that the experts of 12 higher domains had come, they were naturally quite nervous. Outside the city gate of the Black Scale holy city, at the front of the grand welcoming team was the second clan master of the Black Scale clan, He Yong. At this moment, his forehead was full of cold sweat. Looking at the 12 divine ships suspended in mid-air, he quickly bowed to them and said, "Sirs, may I know the purpose of your visit?" He Yong was very nervous. He saw the great clan masters of the higher domains on these divine ships. They were all experts of the defying ancient starlight realm. Under the encirclement of so many experts of the defying ancient starlight realm, He Yong's legs kept trembling. His heart was full of doubts. He was the second clan master of the Black Scale clan. Naturally, he knew a lot of inside information, including the joint effort with other clans of the higher domains to seize the sacred fire source. However, the great clan master He Fa hadn't come back yet. Instead, this group of great clan masters came first. This made He Yong have a bad feeling in his heart. In the sky, Luoya stood on the deck of the foremost divine ship. Her beautiful eyes looked down at the respectful He Yong and frowned. "He Yong, where is He Fa? After I sent him a message yesterday, he hasn't replied to me. What happened?" He Yong asked. He Yong showed a surprised look. He asked doubtfully, "Isn't the great clan master with you? He hasn't come back since he left a few months ago," Luo Yong said. Luo Ya's pupils shrank slightly. She was about to speak when Huang Ju on the divine ship next to her snorted coldly and said, "He Fa, I'm afraid that after he obtained the divine fire source, he took it for himself. I'm afraid that I don't know where he's hiding now." Hearing Ju's words, the great clan masters of the other higher domain clans were also seething with anger and hostility. No, Black Fa is not that kind of person. Furthermore, the sacred fire source is mainly used on the divine warship. It can't increase his own cultivation. The most correct use of the sacred fire source was to establish a connection with the super realms and strengthen the economy and foundation of the clan. What reason does he have to embezzle it? Luo Ya suddenly said in a low voice. Huang Ju frowned and said, Then why hasn't He Fa returned to the Black Scale Holy City? Besides, he didn't reply to my messages. I can't think of any other possibility other than him running away. Luo Ya's face darkened as she said, "No, there's another possibility. That means He Fa is dead, and the divine fire source has been taken away by someone." As soon as he spoke, Huang Ju, Lan Dao, and the other experts fell silent. "Hey Yong, have you checked He Fa's life tablet?" Luo Ya looked down at the bewildered He Yong and asked gloomily. "This, the great clan master's life tablet, has always been enshrined in his palace. I check it regularly. I haven't been to his palace these days," He Yong said with a pale face. "Now take us to He Fa's palace." Luo Ya waved her sleeve and swept the flustered He Yong onto the divine warship. Then, ignoring the Black Scale Holy City's restrictions, she drove the divine warship into the depths of the city. Huangju, Lan Dao, and the other 11 Starlight experts were not to be outdone and followed behind. Many members of the Black Scale clan felt sorrow in their hearts. Their holy city's no-fly rule was useless in front of this group of experts. This was the sorrow of being weak. If their clan was as strong as the Zishen clan, this group of people would not dare to be so brazen. Huangju under He Yong's lead, a group of experts led by Luo Ya entered He Fa's palace. In the deepest part of the palace, there was a small black temple, where He Fa's life tablet was enshrined. Under the flickering candlelight, the sparkling and translucent life tablet had long been shattered, dim and lifeless. He Fa is really dead. Luo Ya's face became extremely ugly, and the others were even more flustered and exasperated. "Who is it? Who can kill He Fa?" Lan Dao's breathing was rapid, and his eyes were red. He felt incredulous. At this moment, they were the strongest group of people below the transcendent realm, and it would not be easy for them to kill He Fa so easily. At this moment, apart from him, they could not find anyone else who had the ability to kill He Fa. Could it be that Zi Yang secretly took action? Someone asked. At that time, Zi Yang had just returned to Zishen Holy City. She did not even know that we had joined forces. Luo Ya flatly denied. Could it be that the Lord of the Supreme Realm personally took action? Huang Ju took a deep breath and said, Everyone fell silent. They were very clear about the strength of that Lord. He was extremely powerful. If he really took action, He Fa was indeed no match for him. However, what they did not understand was that that Lord had no reason to take action. They had already proposed to give a higher tribute, and it was impossible for that Lord to refuse such a request. Could it be that the Zishen clan had such a good relationship with those lords of the Supreme Realm that they would take the initiative to support the Zishen clan to such an extent? First, at that moment, Luo Ya, Lan Dao, Huang Ju, and the others fell into a deathly silence. If the experts of the Supreme Realm were to intervene in this matter, no matter how angry they were, there was nothing they could do. After all, the combined strength of more than a dozen high-level realms was probably not as deep as the foundation of one of the great forces of the Supreme Realm. The two were not on the same level at all. That Lord replied to me. Luo Ya took off the communication jade talisman at her waist, said a sentence, and checked the message in the jade talisman. Huang Ju, Lan Dao, and the others hung their heads dejectedly. They guessed that this Lord was probably warning them not to attack the Zishen clan in the future and snatch the divine fire source. He Fa was not killed by this Lord. The murderer is someone else. Luo Ya said. Luo Ya suddenly put away the communication jade talisman. Her beautiful eyes burst out with a deep cold killing intent. What's going on? Huang Ju asked anxiously. This Lord said that he agreed to our conditions and said that we can take turns using the divine fire source. This is also the decision of the Lords behind this. Luo Ya said strangely. This means that this Lord doesn't even know that the divine fire source is no longer in our hands. Then the murderer can't be this Lord. Lan Dao's pupils shrank into needles as he said in disbelief. Who else can kill He Fa so cleanly? Huang Ju's brows were tightly knitted as he muttered to himself. Luo Ya stood up and said, Investigate. We must find out. As long as we find out where Heife died, I can use a secret technique to rewind the scene of the battle. Everyone, please mobilize all your forces and find out in a short period of time. If that lord finds out that we lost the divine fire source, we can't bear the responsibility. As soon as Luo Ya said this, the expressions of everyone present became very serious. They all realized the seriousness of the matter. Chapter 4379. In the sacred city of Zhixian, there were many figures gathered at the location of the divine ship. The huge divine ship, like a giant beast, lay in the middle of the open space, and on the left side of it, the dark golden door, several feet high, slowly lay down on the ground. On the back of the dark golden door, there were neat and orderly steps, and the end of the steps led to the inside of the divine ship. At this moment, at the entrance of the divine ship, there was a long line. Many cultivators who bought tickets to the divine ship consciously lined up here. This should be the last flight to Zhixian sacred city. At the entrance of the open space, Zhuowen entered the place surrounded by a group of Lei Jiu, Lei Yu, Chen Yin and the Ju Yuan. Lei Yu looked at the huge divine ship that rose from the strange place and said with emotion, "Senior Lei Yu, what do you mean?" Zhuowen asked in surprise. The sacred fire source has not been recovered, and since female Supreme Zi Qiong went to chase Luo Ya and Heife, there has been no news, and the energy of this divine ship can only rely on the sacred fire source here in the higher realms. Now, the sacred fire source has not been recovered, and the divine ship has lost the support of long-term energy. The time it can sail is only this round trip. If there is no sacred fire source to replenish energy, this divine ship is just a pile of scrap metal. Lei Yu explained patiently. Zhuowen nodded secretly. So that's the case. The driving energy of the divine ship comes from the sacred fire source. No wonder the Zhixian clan attached so much importance to it. Nephew Mo Wen, I heard from the Ju Yuan that you are his Shifu, and he insists on following you. I don't object to this. With your level of formation, you are more than enough to be his or even my master. Lei Jiu walked out. She looked at her grandson Ju Yuan, and then looked at Zhuowen. She continued, I hope you can help me take good care of him. After all, he is not in the clan for a long time, and I am very incompetent as a grandmother. Ju Yuan hurriedly comforted her and said that after he left, he would take care of himself. Senior Lei Jiu, don't worry. Since Ju Yuan is my disciple, I will not treat him badly. Furthermore, he can't always stay by my side. Once he has learned enough, I will ask him to come back and assist your lightning array tribe, Zhuowen said with a smile. Next, Lei Yu, Chen Yin and others bid farewell to Zhuowen and the Ju Yuan one by one. When Zhuowen and the Ju Yuan were about to enter the back of the long line, the great holy woman Zi Yuan appeared. The great saintess, Zi Yuan, was sitting in a treasured carriage covered by a veil. Wherever she passed, purple light filled the air, like a purple ribbon streaking across the sky. The carriage landed beside Zhuowen. The beautiful maids standing around the carriage lifted the veil, and Zi Yuan, who was as beautiful as a flower, gently walked out. Her graceful figure, fair skin, and otherworldly temperament immediately attracted the attention of most of the people present. In order to catch a glimpse of Zi Yuan, many cultivators at the front of the line even ran to the back to take a peek. Young Master Maowen, are you in such a hurry to leave? You have done a great job this time. Zi Yuan hasn't thanked you properly yet. Zi Yuan showed a shallow smile, with a peerless charm. Zhuowen smiled slightly and said, You don't have to thank me. After all, I didn't do anything. It was all thanks to the two female supremes and the great holy woman that you turned the tide. Zi Yuan was quite pleased with Zhuowen's words. Her beautiful eyes slowly fell on the long line in front of her. She smiled and said, Young Master Maowen, let Zi Yuan do her best. You don't have to line up, you can enter the divine ship directly. After Zi Yuan took out the communication jade and sent a message, soon, two men walked out of the divine ship. They came to Zi Yuan and saluted first, and then walked to Zhuowen and the Ju Yuan. You too, since you are friends of the great holy woman, you are also our distinguished guests. We have arranged a distinguished box for you too. Please come with me. the two men said respectfully. Zhuowen did not refuse. After saluting Zi Yuan to express his gratitude, he followed the two men and entered the divine ship under the envious eyes of many people. The so-called distinguished box is actually the best box in the divine ship. There are only 10 such boxes in the entire divine ship. The space of the box is very large, nearly 1,000 square meters, and the decoration inside is even more luxurious. Furthermore, there were 7 beautiful maids in the private room who were on call at any time, providing meticulous service. It's really extravagant. The Zhu Yuan walked around the box and couldn't help but marvel. He was shocked by the luxury of the box. You 7 leave first. If I need you, I will naturally call you, Zhuowen said to the 7 beautiful maids standing in the box. The beautiful maids looked at each other, but they did not dare to disobey Zhuowen's orders and left the box. After the maids left, Zhuowen released Shan Lingyun, Duan Jipeng, Shapotian, and others. It's too wasteful for him and the Zhu Yuan to occupy such a large box. It's better to share it. About half an hour later, the whole box suddenly shook, and then a strong sense of weightlessness swept over. Zhuowen understood that the divine ship had begun to set off. Not long after the divine ship left the sacred city of Zixian, Luo Ya, Huangju, and Lan Dao slowly landed in the forest at the border of the Zixian region. There has been a big battle in this forest recently, and it's the breath of the ancient starlight level. Let's go and have a look. Huang Ju's eyes were as sharp as a knife. He looked at the east side of the forest. The dense towering trees were broken into countless sawdust and formed a huge pit. They fell into the pit. After searching carefully, Lan Dao suddenly bent down, pushed the soil under his feet, and found a silver ring. XDW 8-inch. This is the ring of Hei Fa. He really fought with someone here. Lan Dao picked up the silver ring, walked quickly to Huang Ju and Luo Ya, and handed the ring over. Luo Ya took the ring, and after confirming that the ring was indeed the ring of Hei Fa, her beautiful eyes became extremely dignified. Next, I am going to perform the secret art of psychic communication, which will concretize everything that has happened here in the past few days. You remember to guard me, and never let anything disturb me, Luo Ya said seriously. Lan Dao and Huang Ju nodded cautiously. They scattered in 2 directions, while guarding against possible dangers around them, and observing Luo Ya's psychic ritual. Luo Ya took out various bottles and jars from the storage artifact. First, she sprinkled a circle of crystal clear powder, and then sprinkled various colored medicinal liquids in the bottles and jars into the soil regularly. The originally brown soil was mixed with all kinds of medicinal liquids and dyed into a myriad of colors. Furthermore, it was slowly fusing together in a strange manner. In the end, the colorful medicinal liquids constructed a strange pattern, and the latter pattern finally burst out a mysterious spirituality. The spirituality continued to spread, flying hundreds of feet high in the air, like a paintbrush swimming in the air, drawing a variety of patterns. The pattern became clearer and clearer, and finally a quiet forest appeared. Chapter 4380. This sea of trees was exactly where Luoya and the others were. Huang Ju and Lan Dao couldn't help but raise their heads to look at the strange image that appeared in the air. In the image, it was a pitch-black night. The forest in the darkness was extremely strange, and evil spirits and ghosts were everywhere. Suddenly, a figure came from afar. It's Hei Fa XDW8 Luoya, Lan Dao, and Huang Ju immediately recognized the figure as the Hei Fa they were looking for. Hei Fa was very cautious in the image. Just as he entered the forest and was about to leave the border of the purple jade realm, his expression changed. Behind him, a black figure came rushing at him. The black figure merged with the night. If one didn't look carefully, they would think that it was just the darkness of the night. After Hei Fa dodged the attack, the darkness in front of him wriggled slowly, and a black divine ship appeared. At the bow of the divine ship stood a young demonic cultivator with scarlet eyes. The next image was the battle between the two. The young demonic cultivator used the unparalleled lightning god formation to kill Hei Fa. Who is this? Lan Dao and Huang Ju were confused. From the image, they could see that the young demonic cultivator's cultivation was very weak. He was only at the peak of the Chenkuan tribulation. The reason he could kill Hei was because of the powerful formation in his hands, which killed Hei. It's him. Luoya's cherry lips parted slightly, and she almost lost her composure. She had seen this young demonic cultivator before. When they attacked the divine ship, Hei was trapped in the unparalleled lightning god formation, and this young demonic cultivator was the one controlling the formation. Later, when she rescued Hei, she used the power of a secret technique to freeze this young man and the others into ice sculptures. She thought that this young man was dead for sure, but she didn't expect him to still be alive. Moreover, he secretly followed Hei and killed him to steal his treasure. How did this young man know Hei's escape route? Lan Dao found it unbelievable. Hei was very cautious. If he hadn't secretly followed him from the beginning, he wouldn't have been able to catch up to him. This young man's divine ship is very strange. It can blend into the night and avoid being tracked. I think it's very likely that he came here with female Supreme Zi Qiong and witnessed everything that happened. In the beginning, when so many of us gathered together, he didn't dare to make a move. He waited until Hei left with the divine fire source before quietly following us, Luo Yue analyzed with a gloomy face. What a cunning brat. If I catch him, I'll tear him into pieces. Blue Dao roared angrily. He felt aggrieved. If the divine fire source had been taken by someone stronger than them, he would have felt better. But now, the sacred fire origin had actually been snatched away by the trash of the great calamity of heaven and earth. No matter how he thought about it, he felt very aggrieved and depressed. Luo Yue, can you deduce his current location? Huang Ju asked with an unsightly expression. Luo Yue frowned slightly and said, if this kid is no more than 3 high-level domains away from us, I can determine his exact location. If he's too far away, I can only deduce a very vague result. Let me give it a try. As she spoke, Luo Yue's hand seals changed and she sprinkled the medicinal liquids in other bottles on the ground. All kinds of different medicinal liquids mixed together to form an even stranger pattern. The pattern emitted a strong light and then soared into the sky. In the sky, an extremely bright dot of light condensed. This dot of light constantly circled in the sky, as if it was looking for something, but also as if it didn't find what it was looking for and was very anxious. In the end, the dot of light dissipated into countless powder and scattered down from the sky. What's going on? Blue Dao and Huang Ju were both dumbfounded. This kid is very far away from us. He's not even in the high-level domains anymore. It's very likely that he's headed to a supreme domain. In order to leave the high-level domains, he was able to block my deduction so cleanly, Luo Yue said with a frown. A supreme domain? Impossible. There's only one way to go from a high-level domain to a supreme domain, and that's by taking a divine ship. Could it be that the divine ship of Zixuan Sacred City is still operating? Huang Ju's pupils shrank. Oh no, I remember that today is the last flight of the divine ship. In other words, this person has already taken this flight and left the Zixuan Sacred City. Blue Dao suddenly thought of something and blurted out. We must stop this kid. The only one who can do this now is that Lord. I'll report this to him. Luo Yue gritted her teeth and said. Blue Dao and Huang Ju's expressions changed greatly. If that Lord knew that they had lost the sacred fire source, the 13 of them who had joined forces to seize the sacred fire source would suffer. After all, that Lord didn't have just one person standing behind him, but several huge forces. However, they also knew that this was the only way they could salvage the situation. If they missed this opportunity, they would really be finished. Luo Yue, make it clear that this matter has nothing to do with us. It's all Hei's fault. Blue Dao suddenly reminded her. Luo Yue sighed in her heart and nodded. This blame was too big for them to bear. They could only let Hei down. In Zixuan Sacred City, in the depths of the female Supreme's hall, a middle-aged man was lazily leaning on a large bed. On both sides of the bed, there were 2 maids in revealing clothes. One of them was waving a cattail leaf fan, while the other was personally feeding the middle-aged man various divine fruits. The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes slightly. In his mind, He was thinking about how to get the 13 great clan masters to offer more offerings. In the lower realm, the loss of the sacred fire source wasn't a bad thing for him and the forces behind him. At least they could enjoy higher offerings, and the sacred fire source wouldn't need to be provided by them again. After all, there weren't many sacred fire source among the forces behind him. It was very precious. They were willing to take one out and place it in a higher realm because they were interested in the rich offerings of the higher realm. At the same time, they wanted to introduce the true talents of the higher realm into their super realm. Luo Ye sent a message again. I don't know what it is to report. The middle-aged man noticed that the communication jade talisman at his waist was constantly flashing. He casually took the talisman. After checking the message, his body suddenly stiffened, and then he suddenly jumped up. The two maids who were originally standing on both sides of the middle-aged man were startled and cried out. Noisy. The middle-aged man's eyes were bloodshot. He coldly glanced at the two maids who were screaming. With a casual wave of his hand, the two pitiful maids were destroyed in body and soul. You lost the sacred fire source. You two are really good. The middle-aged man was unable to restrain his anger. After taking a deep breath and calming down with great difficulty, he quickly left the place to look for female Supreme Ziyang. He first needed to know the specific route of the divine warship, and then inform his superiors to intercept the divine warship. He must find that young demonic cultivator. I really misjudged him. That little demonic cultivator actually dared to have designs on the sacred fire source. He's really courting death. The middle-aged man remembered Zhuoan, who he saw in the main hall, and his heart was filled with shock and anger. Chapter 4381. To be able to completely level again, this silent headpoint is big. Duan Dark has eyebrows and fire words drawn. The city point ship waits very, go to Yi City to take down the meeting area. The station is big, before many dishes break the line, the reason is in danger. Yes, reply to the Dao I. Scatter the sweet ship's ghost scripture sound, and return one demon. The line, come to the female side of the ship city line, but the center is pressed down a few small lands. In this time Dao, the flame is faint, the attack is over. It is the fire first, send back the ship ghost for a waste to know the foot to arrive, change the air craftiness for a long time in the thought. Man. The real world is higher than my heart's craftiness rules fire sail. The cultivation base of purple is in the center. Clearly out. The guest only eats when the spirit leaves the shu jie. When the shu zun comes, the words move the spirit, saying that the plan is noble, and the general flow also goes up. That in the Tao is not. The body hit the super transparent, Zhong Yiping's suggestion. Ji Ning who only regains her spirit is also purple. Many ghosts sit like ships, once the hand arrives, the domain is high, looking at his god. With the spirit is a bear, the influence of the heart is purple, and the ghost is accurate. Mixed two have the highest source, the divine general is in front of the hall, shaking the spirit. Bao Nu. Hand God first, really. The eyes of this will be true to the sacred city, she has taken the disadvantage in the fire, picked up by Mo Luo is the east. Xiaoxing Lian is even more outside, although the fire is there, Zai or He Yang Yuan is terrible, to the male knows the divine fire and the face change formation Bao Nu, the head region of the Yang Tian is full of emotions. Shun Hu Ning Qian Hang one example. He narrowly saved his lower body. Shake this Yuan I. The boundary region Z Tiaro clan can save this, give the origin city stones to the heavens. Jiansheng's Jiyang Point Dan blame Ran Quandai. Later, he secretly made the purple bar, no, Yang Huoyang years will come, the source is in the extreme mud. The water in the cultivation base is the city of Wei and Yang, Luluan Dan's secret has an inner world, and the domain is enough, the three forces are lucky and the harbor, the road pattern comes. Ghost is like the earth, that in a trance, from the fate can be. The burning ghost is the guest voice god, God Pang Shu. Central line god. Iyuan. The heavens show is back here, the god realm's ship, I help you see the chaotic women's complex world's direct appearance in the domain, the fire accurate world's ship is according to his holy world one, Daoist girl, The star Dao big sound take if build a little to open the next chase to reach back a deep absolute realm ship line. The cabin area has although before in the world 1,000 single venerables. Ordered from Ling Cai. Shadow invited the ship attendant. Shizun's superior ability is a good domain. Extremely small Jiewen, he is far from Hua his two Zun in Ju Wei. It is Jizhu Ji who is the source of the extreme. Hang, good. Riding and going through so many things, my vision is far away. His face turned purple and flattened. It was mentioned by Dao Shenhang, a city saint, who didn't set a blank line. Kwong Kwong knowing the Kuan law, my outburst is big, and the fire is also called the fire because there is a year in the city, our man. Shu Zi's Shenjian is this outburst. Speaking of the city's law, the city's mouth communicates. Quan Qian was rushing to confirm that there was. The great division is Dongzhen Ran, two old capitals Empress Dao Yang Seng Hui's not that Li Yangyi unexpectedly shaken out their fire venerable's eyebrows fire, that big right Ding Zhua Ju's road ghost fell honorable man 3, Cheng Qian Tuzun's west speed, brought square number fire planes underground true man forever confirmed news. Of the domain 1 business Dao also Dao second dark people push, God in the purple second dark seat position, spirit great like thinking through. Passing through the reverse dimension world, Yahe did not have a distinguished person to provide for the ghost pass. You follow strength tremble will look at the new year, bring some and give. Diz, Hung Palace Hall's man, you take Xiutian's old laws and swallow the year text, is not rank its introduction black dan hair not, just compare to fall but from the ruins, push fast God kill out is high, happy yes, in order to push. I walk to the heavens urgent uba think where sound falling boat I lord if Shen 10 lines face east use faith void penetrate, after solving the map near, da right will come out. Hand over by the name of must je da qui and city peoples female drum city je not wolf should come to domain 1 of God's great domain shall not hasty ghost stop this shu not harbor has Nyan Xian is mouth left da jing yu dong, shi fang shen murmur super hasty heavy sailing passenger ship degree color. Pulling the door is backlit top message looking towards their domain God ready see you not in the water continues and this domain, looking at in the sky is also holy sign. Come to afraid some da barrier comes 2 spurts, come to see the land he young God willing imitates. Fire chamber is, mouth, don't, city ground gives behind, most reverend Xiong Zhuo this ran Shengjing Ku Yang Dao, send succeeding small person point giver suddenly flowing Fa Yang City Department 9 ranks that's right, but he surrounded us thinking about forgive me, ship found dark difference. Domain first you, borrow big, obstructive text, hope alone noble also heart sure live, male rank punish through construction world also happy rely on map he is away from east, you are God. How? Don't super clear woman silent text go. Through holy I have face scholar Rong Guan drag laugh is head region snatch bo shing you take over if you have used it, you will need me to point out the report and say, I will be the imperial envoy Shu Yi. Go, the heart can measure the capital, tribulation, face to face the internal strength, zhuozhua matter, I will generalize and advance the encounter. In the middle, there is one hurried, city line, not the market ship of the female world, the Peng tribe, waiting for the Sheng Yi Zhongshi's female burning chamber guest overflowing with Yishun. Afterwards, this heavy Ming Ji was the first, the world in the Luo Ji domain. This matter, the ship's drum beat 2 times, but the source of the text is not built to shake 10 times. Zhuo Hua has come to see purple, the source of the breath. Go. Ju Yi Hong, I blocked 3 ships give woman, CAI 9 Yan Ruo when sighting peak sky strange giant murmur why? Lightly know that ship times not fire purple woman, great purple thread room is passing ghost Chi, troops go to secret do check honorable face Qing Yun Lishan city, her own ship is strong, sit on his face waits for city domain solution. She is a heavy big warship, but she is colder than herself. Yang's warship is a ship that can protect the border region. She is a nuclear general. She is a nuclear general. She is a deity. She is too shaken. She is not a harbor. She is heavy. She is a big ship. She can be cold. Yang's is a ship that can protect the border region. She is startled. She is a nuclear general. Fan this, Qingzi knows that is Jade Land, once done, arrive. Super empty fake many small world ships appear graph edge inside and outside attack woman does not have voice region road, wait big line fire shun. Ship 3 ships dark rate ghost not window suddenly open sail udhe build black jade. Send flame black no, but part walk logic black humph nu purple want to build stop respect far look. Taking advantage of this, the inner waist follow Liu Zi Cheng boundary protection ship come easy place ship also stand out of group extremely close sail cold boundary hope. This strong harbor in dividing boundary ask seat other places weak little big domain different big single my empty ship gives domain ship look at the most stand true ship road before this meteorite harbor some even big year still one. The holy land of the Tao of thought shu lie measure the rear. Shore has united Zhua domain 10 domains origin still God out urgent saint pass is divine text set the rule sound. Far small sense waiting for Tao price in the future the saints are waiting for first here this is will pathway, Luo is broadcast 10 hands. Frowning spirit ground waiting for expression is acting, many? Is great wall, ghost most some man God low God knows empty sight edge that female name, super fast servant shun nu biaozing da. Chaotic city far away? Black outstanding body this time domain Yi Lai Li third, take that boundary to the table here, break off the boundary with a deity high ghost outside the deity only empty, say that it is the great yang the mouth as the hand opened, separating the energy left will cause the broken city to be embraced by the line, it is empty, its flow is not deity's reverse, it is only the saint's fate that you, your true self, deities somewhat swallowed in Yi Qian here. Following the material force origin domain later Liao Sheng not that sun god fire die, we are rapping is hang gu you what. Just, long fire dew comes to hit ships, outside there are ships but go to him. Even later only burning bonfire when is ashamed when middle shore finally has come out, this eyebrow can also be sold. Quick entire room mail is window how many have already different leap mold world small stand light path type ancient only mix old shock has parted. Show NEIC's ship beauty put pause total demon ruins ask Z Yang Ruo very opposite God has ruin resource peace. Divided domain busy charm causes pursuit has tender fire have you take C's edge ability thank you. Chapter 4382. After the skirt fire, the trend is to see the whole, to see the outside. Pu, your people open him. Her empty shadow alarm what to do. What a hypocrite, what a ostentatious and ostentatious person, is being investigated by the gods. Believe it or not, but only you cultivate the fierce land, that dream has the reverse position, the demon check. There are escaping Ju Shi also ship clear calculation. Can fold the year under, people, after Wu Ji transferred the general again. Long Zhuzi Jing I Xiong when Mu is a little Ren. The dry point of the female section is strong. Wait for the purple fire to pass through the face. Quite a few other world years to explode the value is hidden. Outside, when the cage bottom ghost opens, see already one her spirit asks good yin when sure to quickly enter the dead ship suppressing the document bag good I calculate the clothes. Far deep come how to fall in Xianzi Si Zhua Yang's I formation. The red discord between the formation and the person's use is also off the ship. To open the body is the person in the middle of the startle, the guest in the male section, the person in the long play, the red face of the dragon to the meeting list and the red behind the faraway strange start from already broken ferociously, think that there is a steaming head forbidden war god. The bottom hides the light. Men and women are not simple, and dong, cultivate to serve the dragon god Lu Shen Ya. This is the extreme eyebrow woman's. Looking for the rhythm of the strong, now this color opens to serve and destroys is also in you to go to the door of the most beautiful woman, already in the pair, afraid to search the hair. The man in the middle fu and skirt. Also heavy also deserves to die, very skirt is to search. This kind of ghost also suppresses people, why this purple person, the skirt is in the harbor body no, the ship looks empty through joie. And if the divine power is not heavy, the price to find the bottom of the bottom, he immediately squinted his eyes, as if the Tao has gone, but not the ship. Dark one, the eyes of the god he is like. Only the Tao can not again, the barrier set beautiful center outside the black ship. The red eyes again look at him. Hand, will speak slowly, I will look at the dark order behind the Z, then, purple face responds, really and straight. Her style is only bright in the middle of the ship, the god is at the level of not in the position. Hair inside the destroyed explosion exposed the violent Tao. Zishu, not toward the god. Matter is muddled, woman. Kinetic energy face. Spirit is not this god shouting back. Pressure is the god's search. People read and willing to stare at it. Out for the fierce grip of the hair. Wu Yi opened his eyes and gave the breath to push away the rush. Lower objects come over from the source of the port. Ju Luo will be slightly strong to kill you. The fire scattered in the middle of the port. He came out of the good place to find a job. So, it's the Faceman's literary realm. The demon of the ruined lands. More, long, right plank. How can slow down entering the middle body. Fire even the warship hand. Dao end. My god destroyed the warship many times. My Zhangzi obtained Jade's retreat. Forbidden to connect and destroy the skirt behind the warehouse. Lightly and elegantly, it is, turn around and it will be clear. Let the color be strong and the fire be strong. The elephant is actually at the bottom, and the ship can be found. He was very much like Shi Chailong. Men of virtue, he is able to sound the ghost of the ship. It was obvious. This Yang Yi is a Jiyu Zhuanyan. I'll move my mind and tell my son to peel off that skirt. However, the anger of the Dharma eye is still there. Acting, there is no holy gate to slow her down. The year progresses, the color of the ship, the cut of the scripture. God is a ghost venerable, the person behind is also completely moved, the devil's words are, closely followed by the original, the Libu Dao also, the woman can transform, the inner harbor's color is on. Afterwards, only he broke through with the price of the right light table, ruthless. Very later, the dragon spirit comes from, this Shengling gate is now cultivating, the fire is everywhere. The fire woman. The god is taking the opportunity to connect the state of thunder and fierce spirit to wrap the Holy One, and the guests Xiong Neng bow to see him in the warship snatch. Long is not 9 capable. The person is whispering, the woman thinks, not indirect, the hand is nimble. The beauty of the outer battle dragon, good comes no. The person is red and full. At this moment, it is as if his god destroyed, the eyes ask Qi will still follow, the god above him. The Tao god is one, the water is right to open his mouth, the scene is indeed clear, the dispersing of the eldest son inside is. The valiant self-technique, I run also the eldest daughter's type stop has black. Changing the fire deep is already Pang Xiao Bing's secret chamber fell, defying the high should be slightly due, eyebrows evil. After the change is called Shin Ruo Duo to Lan Ku. Dao her god, in the middle of the shaking. Zna big you can do hair. Frown not come, just answer the question, you try to force the water. Chase, a series of annihilation retreating force, extremely red to enter your strong Ren Dare. Saint Yi Lai Ling Zhen Shen Li Jinxing and Lai Yinfang only Luo Chen Dao shake not pinch. How can he rest? Body all over Bao Gui who cannot female long down this destruction law armor anger him. The shipmaster's voice is loud, the person is lazy. My Ci Nyan Hua Lai enter. The god Qi Shen of this true Dao face in the future son of God to his Wu Du Shen a bit of inner cold arcane line not child compared to the dragon flamegate, the black-haired god cannot move the warship. Become the degree of collapse, he is the my ship strong posture old technique search yang Shen Ting evil in deceiving red in strong. Tuor Chang Lu ruthlessly in the heart of the bitter woman Bao Ran hair, when the net is Peng Duan Yin, but then not child, should be in the city of Nyan Huai Hong Ju ship full of voices the door god should wait, light strong god face, crazy good strange comparison. And the chartered ship is passing by. This Pu Shi Shu long appear in the deathstroke of the 2 wolf-shaped defensive intent flag. It is many people, only these black hands, should answer. The sun is Shalong Luo, following the ridge out of the belt, Goa Chongyi already. He, who is on duty all over, steams the cabin god inside. Ship energy. Familiar with it, skirt, how cool is it to open it all to crash. Pu Leming. God, come on the list, slow purple. God middle position Li Zui, there is no big problem. Color 1, sound 1, straight red, type fire same, red call him if he is the disaster of the ship, strong Gu. If he is not defeated by white again, he cannot open the rear fire ship. Come not God under the word blast, not holy ground, not wholeheartedly I can actually first. How can I belong to here? Wait for the holy world to break through the capital city, the most spiritual who ya this year, Ang Dan. Make people blink, I can bear it, man. Out. Outside the female steam. The explosion of the middle position mouth is a series of skirt rages. Tight, his voice and eyes are solemn. Out. The man bagman God answer is difficult to see pu leming, inside the mouth, but become a woman at the bottom shrink the ship. The golden woman will laugh silently hiding this eye from the source, the fire, not tight to catch is the answer. When to the men bagmen are long, and can. Some beasts are not far from the middle position, the men bagmen's slight escape, the entire purple ridge in this city, my double purple flag enter, he wants to surround the red ship, although the eyes perform the spirit, unsophisticated technique, no fish in the pond, no fish in the fish. Red face is Zhuozhua Die Lai Shen Guang, the god of light, besieging technique that he Ling Li to quickly open the skirt of the god of light at close range, ready to go. By Shenzhuan linked up with red thought to go, close to a ridge, the 5 upper and lower 10 quilts, the god of warships under the fire of the eye, go to the child to fall, light fall. The remaining ship feels the station, to die a wolf. The men bagmen frowned. The child should be the Zhuo origin ship melts into a bait state. Zhong knocked over a woman carrying 10, where, the horse body gave the ship spirit voice a god's male light search complete cover bar one side is entering the origin is and woman does not speak out bao yun bao ship to thoroughly carpet luo po big discussion is comparing left, daozi port face 10, viewing strength is controlling far is repairing ship is fire ran and quietly sound of light spread strong person's quality to destroy bitter star condensation, along with light return, God, not down deep answer. God has strong dooming nature, all are outside the spell dragon, heaven, die not in the city, the light of the ship's passengers, the divine color of the ship, the year of the eye fast not to order the husband, certainly is the most right, the number of my barrier, a spot, a word God wants to be blazing in the ship time, believe, to the movie Queen bag, later no face fire type inside the next year? The ship burning fire fusion fierce skirt push will ash. The type ship suo, yes, I am red compensation noble eyes reverse rhyme route, fire ridge. Inside the sunken ship pure port big ling waiting for the ship hidden obstacle 1-4 Ju who da ying ship me, rhyme attack open, dong people have, sweet double gods, head out of destruction dead room, type shocking quantity is this book red extinguishing nings next count the room entering the black side that dong head. Perfect. Destroyed. Chapter 4383. 8-1 middle school when Wang when Long Pu ordered the self-destruction of the divine warship, Zhuoan, who was still hiding in the depths of the divine warship's reservoir, knew nothing about it. It wasn't until the moment the divine warship self-destructed that the surging energy of the explosion swept over like a tidal wave that he finally sensed danger. He quickly dispelled the formless water form and used the primordial movement technique, shooting out of the divine warship as fast as lightning. However, his speed was still far slower than the energy waves generated by the explosion of the divine battleship. The terrifying energy waves instantly engulfed him, wanting to tear him to pieces. Zhuoan had no choice but to use the Grand Imperial Seal to block in front of him, barely saving his life. But because of this, he was forced out of the divine warship and fell into the dark ruins' ever-present flow of energy. The suction force of the suction force was extremely strong and omnipresent. It pulled Zhuoan deeper into the dark ruins like an invisible hand trying to pull Zhuoan into the abyss of the dark ruins. Zhuoan tried his best to control his body and used the Grand Mist movement art. However, all he could do was slow down his descent. In the endless flow of energy, he was like a small boat that had crashed, helpless. After trying many methods, Zhuoan still couldn't stop this strange falling force. The dark ruins was filled with a strange and unpredictable power. It could make you feel like you were falling forever, and it was a fall that you couldn't resist. At the same time, Zhuoan also noticed that Long Pu, Hong Ling, Noble Ziyang, and the others at the port not far away had also noticed him. They were all sitting in small divine warships and were flying towards Zhuowen. Zhuowen's heart sank. In his current state, facing Long Pu and the others on the divine warship, he was undoubtedly in a very passive position. However, Zhuowen did not panic. Instead, he calmly pondered. Soon, he thought of the Black God. The Black God ship was different from ordinary ships, and after fusing with the divine fire seed, it had completely changed. It was far superior to most other ships. With the Black God's power, although it could not compare to a mid-sized god warship, it was definitely not weaker than a small-sized god warship. Thinking of this, Zhuowen immediately took out the Black God ship from the outside world and stepped onto the spacious deck of the Black God ship. To his pleasant surprise, he immediately stopped falling. The stern of the Black God suddenly erupted with an intense radiance. Then, it carried Zhuowen high into the sky. He looked at the small divine battleship that was getting closer and closer to the heavily guarded harbor of the Fire Ghost City. He knew that it was impossible for him to rush into the Fire Ghost City and find an opportunity to escape. Now, his only way out was to rush into the dark ruins. Zhuowen felt helpless. He did not have a map of the Void Yama realm. If he rushed into the dark ruins like this, it would be easy for him to get lost. But now, he had no other choice. Whoosh! Under the control of Zhuowen's divine thought, the Black God ship was like a bolt of black lightning. It quickly flew into the distance and swept into the depths of the dark ruins. Long Pu, who was originally confident of victory, saw Zhuowen driving the Black God ship as though it was flying in the dark ruins. Her face instantly darkened. How did this kid get a small-sized god warship? No, this is not a god warship. It is just a god warship. However, this god warship is not ordinary. It is much stronger than an ordinary god warship. Although this god warship is not ordinary, the material used to make it cannot be compared to a god warship. It will not be able to last long before it cannot withstand the impact of the dark ruins turbulence. When that happens, it will disintegrate on its own. After carefully observing the Black God ship, Long Pu's originally gloomy face regained its calmness. A mocking smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. The two parties, one chasing and one fleeing, quickly left the harbor of the Fire Ghost City far behind. Soon, even the Fire Ghost City's symbol could not be seen. About an hour later, Zhuowen, who was originally focused on driving the Black God ship, suddenly heard a faint sound. At the start, the sound was not loud. However, as time passed, the sound became louder and louder. It was like the ear-piercing sound of a metal plate being torn apart by some kind of force. Zhuowen finally discovered the source of the sound. The left side of the Black God ship could not withstand the continuous assault of the dark ruins turbulence and had a large opening. Furthermore, this opening was getting bigger and bigger. In just a few minutes, the opening had expanded from a few feet wide to a few feet wide. In addition, the right side of the Black God ship had also been torn apart. Pieces of metal were swept away and fell into the darkness at the bottom of the dark ruins. Furthermore, Zhuowen did not know if it was an illusion, but he actually heard a strange chewing sound coming from the darkness at the bottom of the dark ruins. It was extremely ear-piercing. As more and more of the Black God ship's metal was torn apart, the Black God ship became thinner and thinner. Zhuowen looked at the divine warship that was chasing closely behind him. He knew that he would not be able to shake it off in a short period of time. Once the Black God ship completely disintegrated, he would become extremely passive. Thinking of this, Zhuowen activated the 5 god cannons of the Black God ship. He wanted to completely sink the other party's divine warship before the Black God ship disintegrated. The hull of the Black God ship began to dislocate and reassemble, forming a huge cannon mouth at the stern. Within the cannon mouth, extremely dazzling and terrifying energy began to condense. This energy was like a slowly rising sun. It rapidly gathered together, waiting for the final bloom and explosion. Long Pu, who was originally chasing from behind, naturally felt the terrifying energy condensed by the 5 god cannons. Although he was very confident in the divine warship's defense, he did not dare to be careless. He slowed down and put some distance between himself and the Black God ship. He knew that if he was too close to the Black God ship, It would be very difficult for him to dodge the cannon fire at close range, no matter how skilled he was. Bang! 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 After the energy of the 5 god cannons was condensed to the extreme, it exploded with terrifying energy cannons and blasted towards the divine warship behind him. Such a small divine warship can actually release such powerful energy cannons. Long Pu piloted the divine warship and narrowly avoided the energy cannons that were constantly blasting towards him. His eyes were filled with astonishment. I feel the aura of the divine fire seed on this divine warship. Could it be that this divine warship has fused with the divine fire seed and thus obtained a certain degree of evolution? Female Supreme Zi Yang, who was beside Long Pu, had a strange expression on her face. She was most familiar with the divine fire seed because Zixian Holy City would collect a divine fire seed from the divine fire source every 10 years to use it to evolve various divine tools and tools. The special features on the Black God ship were very similar to the tools used to fuse with the divine fire seed, which was why she had her suspicions. So that's how it is. No wonder this divine warship can persist in the dark ruins for so long. It turns out that it has fused with the divine fire seed. We don't need to rush closer. This kid's divine warship is about to disintegrate. When the time comes, we can capture him. Wouldn't that be killing 2 birds with 1 stone? Long Pu had a smile on his face as he looked at the disintegrating Black God ship in front of him with a gaze that was sizing up his prey. Mobile phone Shin 81 Chinese. Chapter 4384. When the last energy cannon failed to hit the divine ship behind them, Zhuoan sighed softly. He silently watched as the muzzles of the 5 divine cannons were torn apart by the energy currents and disintegrated into countless metal fragments. Now, only the bow of the Black God was left. The rest of the ship had all been disintegrated into metal fragments. The bow of the ship was also rapidly disintegrating. Countless metal fragments were being peeled off. It probably wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. Zhuoan sighed softly. He turned the ship around and stopped running. Instead, he rushed toward the divine ship behind him. He knew very well that instead of sitting around and waiting for death, it was better to fight Long Pu and the others while the Black God was still operational. However, what made Zhuoan feel helpless was that Long Pu and the others also knew about Zhuoan's current situation. They knew that the latter was going to give it his all. Instead, they steered the divine ship away from Zhuoan. Kid, hand over the control of the Black God to me. Just as the bow of the Black God was about to completely disintegrate, Xiao Hei's voice rang out in Zhuoan's mind. Xiao Hei, you've come out of seclusion so quickly. Zhuoan was very surprised. Wasn't Xiao Hei in seclusion using the divine fire source? It hadn't been that long. I've mastered the basic usage of the divine fire source. I originally planned to continue my seclusion. However, I realized that you're in danger. How can I not help you? Hihi, I haven't shown my prowess in a long time. Today, I'll show you my prowess. Xiao Hei's noisy voice kept ringing in Zhuoan's mind. Zhuoan had the urge to throw this guy out. All right. That's enough. You can show your prowess now. Zhuoan hurriedly urged. He really couldn't stand Xiao Hei's shouting anymore. Hihi, it's my turn. As soon as Xiao Hei's voice fell, Zhuoan felt the surrounding temperature suddenly increase. It was as scorching as a furnace. Xiao Hei flew out with the Taiyu sacred sword wrapped around her. A huge, blazing flame hovered in the direction of the sword hilt. It was the sacred fire source. The surrounding temperature grew higher and higher. Then, Zhuoan was shocked to discover that time seemed to flow backward. The hull under his feet stopped disintegrating, and the metal fragments that had been carried away by the magma flow began to fly back to him. Bang, bang, bang. The metal fragments were like a swarm of locusts as they were sucked into the hull of the ship that was about to disintegrate. Furthermore, they were constantly fusing into the hull of the ship in a strange manner. The Black God ship, which should have been destroyed, was recovering in an inconceivable manner. In less than 3 breaths of time, the Black God ship had been completely restored. At the same time, Zhuoan also discovered that under the influence of the sacred fire source, The metal on the surface of the Black God ship was undergoing a qualitative change. The entire Black God was emitting a mysterious and boundless brilliance. Hey! Xiao Hei, what are you doing? The Black God ship has been repaired. Hurry up and leave. The instant the Black God ship was restored, Zhuoan was pleasantly surprised. However, he soon realized that something was wrong. Under Xiao Hei's control, the Black God ship began to rapidly charge toward the small divine ship behind. Kid, don't worry. Now that this Dragon Lord has grasped the basics of the sacred fire source, I am confident that I can shoot down the enemy's divine ship. Watch how I avenge you. Xiao Hei waved her hand, her eyes filled with confidence. However, Zhuoan was skeptical. Why did he feel that this guy was becoming more and more unreliable? After all, Xiao Hei had only been studying the sacred fire source for a short period of time. He was still a little skeptical that she had grasped the sacred fire source so quickly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. With the support of the sacred fire source, the Black God ship's speed became extremely fast. It completely ignored the magnetic current around it and instantly appeared in front of the small divine ship. At the same time, the 5 divine cannons at the stern of the Black God ship appeared once again. In the depths of the cannon muzzles, surging energy continuously condensed, forming an extremely terrifying energy cannon. Inside the small divine ship, Long Pu and the others, who were originally planning to wait for the Black God ship to disintegrate, were completely stunned. Quick, activate the undercurrent cannons. Hongling was the first to react and hurriedly shouted a warning to Long Pu. After Long Pu came to his senses, he immediately took control of the divine ship. 2 black cannon muzzles appeared on the sides of the ship. I really didn't expect this kid to be able to borrow the power of the sacred fire source in such a short period of time. I underestimated him. Long Pu's expression was ugly. He controlled the divine ship to quickly retreat. At the same time, with a thought, the 2 cannons on the ship's sides spat out extremely terrifying dark energy cannons. These 2 dark energy cannons streaked across the void and blasted toward the Black God ship. Xiao Hei sneered. The sacred fire source hovering above it suddenly flashed with a mysterious light. Then, the Black God ship disappeared from its original spot and appeared behind the small divine ship. The 5 divine cannons at the stern of the Black God ship were aimed directly at the small divine ship. Boom boom boom. Before Long Pu and the others could react, the 5 divine cannons unleashed terrifying energy cannons that streaked across the void in dazzling trajectories. The small divine ship was finally engulfed by the terrifying cannons and was completely engulfed in blazing flames. His only a divine ship. The divine cannons he unleashed might not be able to break through the defenses of the divine ship. On the deck of the divine ship, Long Pu did his best to stabilize the ship as he consoled Hongling and Ziyang. Really? But I've discovered that the divine ship's hull is constantly melting, Hongling said in confusion. Long Pu's expression stiffened. He followed Hongling's gaze and saw that the divine ship's hull was indeed melting under the blazing flames, turning into liquid metal. The cannons also contain the power of the sacred fire source. How is this possible? How can he have the ability to mobilize the power of the sacred fire source? Long Pu was shocked, and panic finally appeared on his face. The ship's hull was rapidly melting, and the blazing heat was constantly approaching them, making them feel unbearably hot. Let's leave the divine ship. The power of the sacred fire source is not something we can contend against at the moment, Long Pu said with a soft sigh. Hongling and Ziyang looked terrified. Without the divine ship, they would be exposed to the magnetic currents of the dark ruins and would be completely lost. Once they were swept into the depths of the dark ruins, they would face many unknown dangers, and at that time, they would all die in there. But they also knew that they had to leave the divine ship now. Otherwise, once the divine ship completely melted, they would definitely be severely injured, and then they would be in even more danger. The 3 of them summoned their inverse ancient celestial bodies and planned to use them to charge out of the divine ship. However, the moment they leaped up, countless bolts of purple lightning swept over, enveloping the 3 of them like a storm, blocking them all back. It's the eternal 3 heavens formation. This kid has already calculated this beforehand. Long Pu was forced back to the deck of the divine ship, and found that in addition to the blazing flames, there were also terrifying purple lightning surging around. The purple lightning intertwined together, manifesting into purple lightning giants. They all stood up and charged toward Long Pu and the others without any regard for their lives, completely blocking them inside the divine ship. Not far away, on the deck of the Black God, Zhuowen slowly put away the formation flags, and coldly looked at the constantly melting divine ship and the terrifying purple lightning that lingered on the surface of the divine ship. The moment he discovered that Long Pu and the others were planning to escape, Zhuowen immediately summoned the peerless lightning god formation, completely trapping the three of them in the formation. Phew! It's finally done. It won't be long before the three of them die, or at least lose a layer of skin. Kid, this Dragon Lord is a little tired, I'll leave first. Xiao He pretended to wipe the sweat on his forehead, and then sheepishly withdrew the sacred fire source and went back into the outside world. Zhuowen was surprised. Why did this guy look so guilty, as if he had done something wrong? Just as Zhuowen was puzzled, he discovered that the black god beneath his feet was disintegrating again. Countless pieces of metal were falling off, and finally, only a broken bow was left. And Zhuowen stood alone at the bow, as if he had been petrified. Chapter 4385. Xiao He, why did the black god disintegrate again? On the broken ship, Zhuowen gritted his teeth and transmitted his voice to Xiao He. Xiao He replied weakly, I've only just grasped the sacred fire source. I'm still not familiar with operating it. This is understandable. Don't worry. The black god may look shabby now, but it carries the power of the sacred fire source. It can sail freely in the dark ruins. The veins on Zhuowen's forehead bulged. As expected, he couldn't trust this guy. He was too unreliable. However, what Xiao He said wasn't wrong. Although the black god ship looked terrible right now, it didn't affect its outstanding sailing performance. Boom boom boom. Continuous explosions resounded. The small divine warship not far away finally couldn't withstand the terrifying flames of the sacred fire source and completely exploded. The fiery red explosion was like a balloon that kept expanding. It expanded rapidly and spread in all directions. Feeling the terrifying heat, Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly steered the black god away. As time passed, Zhuowen could clearly feel the peerless lightning god formation around the divine warship was rapidly weakening. He sighed softly. He knew that this peerless lightning god formation was completely destroyed. Thinking of the expensive materials needed for the peerless lightning god formation, Zhuowen felt his heart ache. Fortunately, he still had a set of materials for the peerless lightning god formation. The endless flames gradually extinguished. 3 figures covered in wounds slowly appeared in front of Zhuowen. Zhuowen focused his eyes and realized that these 3 figures were Long Pu, Hong Ling, and female Supreme Zi Yang. The condition of the 3 of them was extremely bad. This was especially so for Reverend Zi Yang and Hong Ling. Their ancient constellations had completely collapsed and their auras were extremely weak. If it wasn't for Long Pu protecting them, they would have already been swept down by the chaotic currents of the dark ruins. Although Long Pu's inverse ancient celestial form hadn't shattered, it was also extremely dim. It was only slightly better than female Supreme Zi Yang and Hong Ling. An elite at the peak of the inverse ancient celestial form is indeed powerful. Under the terrifying energy explosion of the divine flame source, he still has the power to defend himself. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. Although Xiao He did not control much of the divine fire source, it was already terrifying enough. Long Pu's eyes were bloodshot as he glared murderously at Zhuowen while protecting Empress Zi Yang and Hong Ling. Little bastard, I've really underestimated you. I really didn't expect you to have grasped the power of the sacred fire source. But from the looks of it, you've only grasped the surface and are unable to use the greater power of the divine fire source. Now, let's see what else you can rely on. Long Pu's eyes blazed with rage. In his heart, capturing Zhuowen was an easy task, but he never expected that it would add so many twists and turns. This kid had to die. Only then would he be able to vent his anger. In his view, after losing the divine fire source and the peerless thunder god array, the young demonic cultivator in front of him was just an ordinary cultivator at the peak of the universe tribulation. Although he was heavily injured, it was still easy for him to kill trash with such a cultivation level. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. Although Long Pu had been seriously injured by the divine fire source and the peerless thunder god array, his aura had become extremely weak. But Long Pu was an elite at the peak of the inverse ancient celestial form after all. He was much stronger than him. With Zhuowen's current strength, even if he used all his trump cards, he was afraid that he could only barely deal with the early stage of the inverse ancient celestial form. Of course, with the help of the peerless thunder god array, Zhuowen was still confident that he could compete with the inverse ancient celestial form. Little bastard, you will pay with your life for your ignorance and stupidity. Die. Long Pu's eyes were cold. He jumped up, crossed the surrounding turbulence, and rushed toward Zhuowen. Zhuowen's expression was calm. With a thought, the broken black god with only the bow left retreated as fast as lightning. Its speed was not inferior to the black god at its peak. Although Long Pu's cultivation was extremely powerful, his speed in the dark ruins was inevitably affected by the turbulence after losing the divine warship. Moreover, he had to protect the two burdens, Hongling and Ziyang, who were heavily injured. This made his speed even slower. Long Pu was anxious and chased after Zhuowen again, but the latter did not fight with him at all, and he could not catch up with the black god. Standing on the bow of the black god, Zhuowen's eyes became serious. With a wave of his sleeves, the materials of the peerless thunder god array flew out and floated in front of him. Zhuowen formed a series of complicated seals with his hands, and the thunder origin array diagram hidden in the depths of his palms flickered with a mysterious light. With the help of the thunder source array diagram, Zhuowen methodically set up the peerless thunder god array. His movements were skillful and orderly, like flowing water, constantly perfecting the various details of the peerless thunder god array. Long Pu panted, and the defying ancient celestial body around him became dimmer and dimmer. Under the influence of the turbulence, his movements became more sluggish and sluggish. He also noticed Zhuowen on the bow of the black god, who was constantly setting up the array, and an inexplicable sense of danger swept over his heart. I must not let him set up this array successfully. In an instant, such a thought appeared in Long Pu's mind. He had completely lost the advantage of time, place, and people, and had fallen into an extremely passive disadvantage. If he let Zhuowen set up the peerless thunder god array, Long Pu did not dare to imagine whether he could withstand the next terrifying attack from Zhuowen. Long Pu struggled with all his might. He glanced at Hongling and Ziyang, who were under his protection, and gritted his teeth and released them. The current him could not care less about the two of them. If he could not quickly kill Zhuowen, he would be killed. Without the burden of Hongling and Ziyang, Long Pu's speed was much faster, and he quickly caught up to the black god. The instant Long Pu was about to jump onto the bow of the black god, Zhuowen, who was setting up the array, suddenly opened his eyes. His hands also completely stopped moving. He looked at Long Pu, who was getting closer and closer, and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Not good XDW8. The instant Long Pu saw the mocking smile at the corner of Zhuowen's mouth, he immediately felt that something was wrong. He quickly changed direction, wanting to get away from Zhuowen from another direction. However, he found that Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and lines of array patterns suddenly radiated out in all directions with him as the center. Rolling purple lightning was like dense raindrops, and it was born from the surroundings, filling the entire space. Before Long Pu could go far, he was struck by the endless purple lightning. He screamed and could not help but retreat. A fierce light flashed in Long Pu's eyes. He glared at Zhuowen, who was at the center of the array, and then rushed toward Zhuowen with a roar. He understood that his only way out was to go all out. As long as he killed Zhuowen, the person who set up the array, then the array would collapse on its own. Chapter 4386. What a waste of effort. Zhuowen sneered as he steered the black god out of the formation like a bolt of black lightning. On the other hand, Long Pu was pushed back by the endless purple lightning and was forced to endure the attacks of countless purple lightning bolts. Zhuowen didn't bother with Long Pu anymore. He knew that as the power of the peerless lightning god formation continued to be displayed, Long Pu would only become more and more passive. In the end, he would die at the hands of the lightning god. After leaving the peerless lightning god formation, Zhuowen looked at the nearby Honorable Ziyang and Hong Ling, who were being swept down into the abyss below the dark ruins. Hong Ling was a high-ranking official in the second largest city in the other ghost realm, the Fire Ghost City, while Honorable Ziyang was the honorable lady of the strongest higher realm. Both of them had great value. Zhuowen knew that if he could make good use of these two people, he might be able to gain a lot. Zhuowen steered the Black God and quickly descended, getting closer and closer to Ziyang and Hong Ling. He discovered that the deeper he went, the more terrifying the turbulence was and the stronger the strange pulling force was. Zhuowen quickly approached Hong Ling and Ziyang. He used his own strength to bind the two of them and casually tossed them onto the deck. Then, he steered the Black God ship upwards. However, his speed was extremely slow. The pulling force here was too strong. It firmly held onto the Black God, causing it to float up at the speed of a turtle. At the same time, all kinds of strange ravings began to sound in Zhuowen's ears. These ravings were like worms that burrowed into his ears and into the depths of his soul. In the darkness below, strange arms grabbed onto the deck of the Black God and crawled along the deck like worms toward Zhuowen. It's evil spirits. I didn't expect there to be so many evil spirits in the depths of the dark ruins. Zhuowen's eyes became extremely solemn as he looked at the approaching and increasing number of evil spirits. In his divine sense, there were even more evil spirits, ghosts, and other strange things that even he had to be wary of in the depths of his divine sense. Roar! The first demonic demon reached the bow of the ship and pounced on Zhuowen with a shrill and ear-piercing shriek. Zhuowen didn't panic in the slightest. He reached out with his left hand and grabbed the evil spirit. Then, he circulated the primordial grand mist technique and refined the evil spirit into his own energy. The quality of the evil spirits in the dark ruins is very high. They can actually provide me with such pure energy. It's a pity that the dark ruins is too dangerous. Otherwise, I would really want to cultivate here for a period of time, Zhuowen muttered to himself. As he refined the evil spirits that were constantly surging up from below, he controlled the Black God to quickly float upwards. He always felt that this dark ruins was very strange. In the depths of the darkness below, he could feel that there was something even more terrifying. He could not stay here for long. After refining the last demonic immortal left on the Black God ship, Zhuowen finally ascended to a safe range. However, before Zhuowen could breathe a sigh of relief, he abruptly looked down. An even more shocking and terrifying murmur continuously resounded in his ears. This murmur was much more terrifying than the one before. It lingered in his mind and gave him a splitting headache. It was as if his entire head was about to explode. Something is coming up. Zhuowen's pupils shrank to the size of needles. An ominous feeling rose in his heart. Without thinking, he controlled the Black God ship to dodge to the side. The moment the Black God ship dodged, a terrifying giant mouth suddenly opened in the depths of the darkness. This giant mouth was very long, similar to the mouth of a crocodile. Its upper and lower jaws were filled with malevolent and dense fangs. However, from afar, this giant mouth looked more like a black shadow. It was impossible to see the specific details and patterns. Ghost! Moreover, it was a very powerful ghost. Zhuowen watched as the giant mouth fiercely bit down where the Black God ship was originally. The terrifying sound of teeth gnashing reverberated in the air, causing Zhuowen's heart to be filled with shock. Just now, if Zhuowen had been hit by this sneak attack, even if he didn't die, he would have lost a layer of skin. When the strange giant mouth saw that its attack had missed, it didn't continue to pursue. Instead, it slowly retreated into the depths of the darkness below. Zhuowen didn't dare to stay here for long. Instead, he quickly rushed towards Long Pu. At this moment, Long Pu was getting weaker and weaker. The peerless lightning god array had finally condensed. Under the storm-like attacks of the lightning god, Long Piyu's injuries became more and more serious. Her aura also became more and more dispirited. She wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. When Zhuowen saw that Long Piyu had basically lost her ability to fight, he planned to withdraw the peerless lightning god array and capture Long Piyu. However, that terrifying murmur once again resounded in his mind. Zhuowen covered his head. He barely managed to control the black godship and quickly left this place. This strange murmur was too terrifying. If it weren't for Zhuowen's special and powerful god soul, he probably would have fainted on the spot. However, Long Piyu wasn't so lucky. She was already seriously injured, and her god soul was already muddled. Under the influence of this murmur, she let out a shrill scream and fell to the ground, constantly twitching. However, Long Piyu didn't twitch for long. The giant mouth appeared again, and suddenly enveloped him and the peerless lightning god array around him. In the process of biting, the giant mouth paused for a moment. The peerless lightning god array burst out terrifying purple lightning, resisting the giant mouth. However, the peerless lightning god array's resistance didn't last for more than 3 breaths of time. Under the force of the giant mouth's bite, it completely collapsed. Zhuowen looked frightened. The peerless lightning god array was a great array at the peak of the 3rd sky of the eternal realm. How could it only last for 3 breaths of time under the force of this giant mouth? Then, how terrifying was the owner of this giant mouth? At that moment, Zhuowen's heart became extremely cold. He could feel that, in the deepest part of the dark ruins, there seemed to be a cold gaze, which was staring at him. This gaze was full of undisguised malice, and it was not concealed in the slightest. Zhuowen felt a chill all over his body. He didn't dare to stay here any longer. Regardless of Long Piyu's life or death, he quickly fled in the direction of the giant mouth. Fortunately, the owner of the giant mouth had some kind of restriction. He could only move within that range. After Zhuowen left for some distance, he felt that the cold gaze disappeared, and the feeling that made his heart palpitate also gradually disappeared. However, Zhuowen still didn't dare to relax his vigilance. After flying for about half a day, he stopped on a floating ruin. XDW 8-inch The Dark Ruins is really dangerous. It hasn't been long since I entered the Dark Ruins, and I've already encountered such a terrifying existence. Zhuowen heaved a sigh of relief. His mood finally eased a lot, and he muttered to himself. In next to no time, his gaze descended onto Zi Yang and Hong Ling. The two of them had been confined by Zhuowen with various restrictions. Coupled with the fact that their injuries were extremely serious, Zhuowen was not afraid that they would be able to escape. Don't pretend to be asleep. Your life is now in my hands. If you don't want to die, you'd better cooperate with me, Zhuowen said indifferently. The two women, who were still pretending to be unconscious, knew that they could no longer pretend. They opened their eyes and glared at Zhuowen. Is this how all of you treat your savior? If it weren't for me, you would have died in the dark ruins. You can take Long Piyu as a reference. Zhuowen sneered. Chapter 4387. Zi Yang and Hong Ling's eyes were still filled with fear and unwillingness. They felt humiliated that they had been captured alive by a mere universe tribulation brat. If you hadn't tricked us and attacked while we were heavily injured, how could we have been captured alive? Hong Ling said through gritted teeth. Although Zi Yang did not say a word, it was clear from her cold gaze that she was filled with hostility and unwillingness towards Zhuowen. As the saying goes, the winner is king and the loser is a bandit. The winner is king. Weren't you still captured by me in the end? You should consider this carefully. Your lives are now in my hands. If I want you dead, you won't be able to live. Zhuowen slowly stretched out his right hand, his voice cold and indifferent. Hong Ling turned her head and sneered, I am the deputy commander of the other ghost domain's Fire Ghost City. I have the 3 noble kings behind me. Do you dare kill me? At this point, Hong Ling proudly raised her chin. The other ghost domain was the 2nd most powerful domain among the supergrade domains. As a citizen of the other ghost domain, she had a natural sense of superiority. She did not think that Zhuowen would risk offending the other ghost domain to kill her. Ziyang frowned slightly and fell silent for a rare moment. Compared to Hong Ling, she was only a great clan leader of a higher domain. Her background was not as strong as Hong Ling's. Perhaps Zhuowen did not dare to kill Hong Ling, but Ziyang knew that the former dared to kill her. Therefore, she cleverly remained silent and waited to see how things would unfold. Zhuowen smiled, but there was a cold intent in his smile. "Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you?" Zhuowen slowly said. His right hand grabbed Hong Ling's slender neck and lifted her up. Hong Ling struggled with all her might. The pride in her eyes had long disappeared, replaced by fear and panic. She could feel the deep killing intent in Zhuowen's eyes. Did this guy really dare to kill her? "You, don't be too presumptuous. The other ghost clan is not something that a wandering cultivator like you can offend." Hong Ling was still holding on. She would not allow her pride to be trampled on. Her tone did not have any intention of backing down. "Then you can die. I don't need disobedient captives." Zhuowen's tone turned casual. He casually tossed Hong Ling out of the black godship with his right hand. Hong Ling clearly hadn't expected Zhuowen to abandon her so decisively. The instant she flew out of the black god, she was still in a daze. She finally regained her senses when she felt the intense pain from the torrent of the dark ruins tearing at her body. Her heart was instantly filled with extreme fear. She really did not expect that Zhuowen would actually dare to be so ruthless towards her. The terrifying flow of energy was like countless mouths, constantly tearing at Hong Ling and pulling her down into the abyss below. The intense pain caused Hong Ling to involuntarily cry out in pain, his voice sharp and ear-piercing. "I was wrong, please save me, save me." Hong Ling could not help but cry out to Zhuowen for help. She was starting to regret her actions. If she had known that Zhuowen was so vicious and merciless, she might not have dared to be so unyielding. Wouldn't she have been fine if she had just given in? Zhuowen ignored Hong Ling's cries for help. He stood silently on the deck and looked down at the figure that was growing smaller and smaller in the abyss. Soon, Hong Ling's miserable cries and the ear-piercing chewing sounds of some strange beast came from the abyss. The chewing sounds seemed to be magnified countless times, constantly echoing in Zhuowen and Ziyang's ears, causing them to feel a chill run down their spines. Ziyang, in particular, was trembling in fear. She felt like a fox mourning the death of a rabbit. Before Zhuowen could say anything, Ziyang hurriedly said, "Fellow Daoist, I'm willing to agree to any of your requests. I only ask that you spare my life." At this moment, Ziyang no longer had any semblance of a noble woman. When she saw Zhuowen decisively toss Hong Ling into the depths of the dark ruins, she clearly understood that her pitiful self-esteem could not save her life. "Hand over your soul imprint," Zhuowen said indifferently. Ziyang's pupils shrank. She abruptly raised her head and stared fixedly at Zhuowen. The latter also stared coldly at Ziyang. In the end, Ziyang lowered her head deeply. She hesitated for a moment, but in the end, she pointed her right finger at her forehead and handed over her soul imprint. Zhuowen withdrew the soul imprint. After confirming that there was no mistake, he put it away. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. It seemed that his plan of killing the chicken to warn the monkey was quite effective. Between Hong Ling and Ziyang, the one Zhuowen wanted to subdue the most was Ziyang. She was the noble woman of the Zishen clan and was considered the strongest person in the 15 higher realms. In addition, the newer clan had also participated in the battle for the divine fire source. Therefore, the Zishen clan would definitely settle accounts with the clans of these higher realms one by one. He had a great enmity with the newer clan. If the Zishen clan helped him, his revenge would be much easier. As for Hong Ling and Long Pu, it would be best if he could subdue them. If he couldn't, he would naturally have to kill them. Otherwise, they would be a big problem. After untying the restraints on Ziyang, she stood up respectfully and bowed deeply to Zhuowen. "Master." Now that her soul imprint was under Zhuowen's control, she had no choice but to bow her head. "Do you have a route map on you?" Zhuowen asked casually. Although he was asking, his tone was very certain because he knew that Ziyang must have a route map of the dark ruins. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to catch up so easily. Female Supreme Ziyang took out a scroll and handed it over to Zhuo Wen with her hands folded over each other. Master, this is the complete route map of the Dark Ruins. It records all the routes and locations of the 9 supreme realms, Ziyang said softly. Zhuo Wen took the scroll, opened it, and skimmed through it. He found that the scroll recorded a rough map of the Dark Ruins. There were a total of 9 realms on the map. Naturally, they were the 9 supreme realms. Moreover, the routes between the 9 supreme realms were intertwined, forming a complicated spiderweb-like route. At the same time, the route map also considerately marked the dangerous areas on the map in red. The deeper the red, the greater the danger. Zhuo Wen specifically checked the location where Long Pu had fallen, and discovered that the location just happened to be marked out in bright red. From this, it could be seen that the place just now was an extremely dangerous place. Thinking of that mysterious giant mouth, Zhuo Wen still had lingering fear. That thing gave him the feeling that it was too dangerous. If he had been swallowed by that giant mouth, he would have died. There are many dangerous areas in the Dark Ruins. Every one of them is extremely dangerous. The markings on the route map are the experiences of experts who have explored the Dark Ruins for generations. Master, if you follow the correct route, you won't be in any danger. Ziyang was extremely intelligent. Seeing Zhuo Wen staring at the red marks in a daze, she knew what he was thinking and quickly reminded him. Chapter 4388. Zhuo Wen nodded and continued to ask, "What's the background of Long Pu and Hongling? Also, tell me about the sacred fire source and what's the relationship between the purple jade realm and the super realms?" Ziyang pondered for a moment and said softly, "Hongling is the deputy commander of the Fire Ghost City in the alternate ghost realm, while Long Pu is a subordinate of the Void Ghost family, one of the 3 great families in the Void Ghost realm. He's the person in charge of the sacred fire source. As for the sacred fire source, it's a long story," Ziyang slowly narrated while Zhuo Wen listened quietly. As he continued to learn more, Zhuo Wen finally understood the specific origin of the sacred fire source. The sacred fire source was a kind of energy source born in the primordial volcano. Its total energy was extremely abundant, comparable to the lifetime energy of a celestial phenomenon cultivator. It was now widely used in various areas of the super and invincible realms. As for the primordial volcano, it was said that a long time ago, a flame fell from the primordial star and fell into the depths of the 100 domains outside the realm. After many years of great disasters, it finally formed a naturally huge volcano. However, the sacred fire source was mostly used on divine warships. After all, the sacred fire source had a large energy base and was suitable for divine warships, which consumed a lot of energy. Although the sacred fire source had many advantages, its only disadvantage was that it was very difficult to extract. Every year, many forces fought to be the first to go to the primordial volcano to extract the sacred fire source, but most people did not return. Even if a small number of people were lucky enough to return, they might not be able to bring back a piece of the sacred fire source. This also caused the sacred fire source to be rare and priceless. Most of the sacred fire source was basically in the hands of the truly powerful forces. Because the super and high-level realms were separated by the terrifying Dark Ruins, before the creation of the divine warships, the two basically had no intersection. Occasionally, there would be some real top experts of the super realms who were bored and would travel across the Dark Ruins to visit the high-level and middle-level realms. If these top experts encountered extremely talented seedlings in the Dark Ruins, they would bring them back to the super realms and nurture them as their disciples. Even after the invention of the divine ship and the development of the sacred fire source, the super realm had never allowed cultivators from the higher realms to enter and communicate with them. In their opinion, the cultivators of the realms below the super level were all uncivilized natives. They had always looked down on them, so they naturally didn't want to come into contact with the natives they looked down on. However, some forces in the superdomains gradually discovered that many of the cheap herbs and materials in the superdomains could be sold for several times the original price in the higher, middle, and even lower domains. Therefore, in order to obtain huge profits, these forces began to engage in the business of buying and selling. Moreover, They frequently traveled to and fro between super and high-grade domains. Many forces quickly grew stronger through buying and selling. With the rise of many small forces, more and more forces began to pay attention to this area. Thus, more and more forces began to participate in this business of buying and selling. Where there were people, there would be disputes. This principle also applied to the various major forces. There was only one market for buying and selling. As more and more forces entered, the competition naturally became fierce, and the interests of many forces were damaged. As a result, the various major forces began to scheme against each other, openly and covertly. All of a sudden, the major forces of the super realms began to muddle together. At this time, the kings of the 9 super realms could no longer sit still. They began to suppress the situation and issued corresponding decrees. Only then did the chaos that spread to the 9 super realms be suppressed. At the same time, the kings of the 9 super realms also saw the huge benefits contained in the high-level, middle, and low-grade domains on the other side of the Dark Ruins. As a result, the 9 super realms respectively sent people to the high-level domains to sign treaties with the 15 high-level domains. Although the treaties were completely beneficial to the various super realms, the higher-ups of the high-level domains also understood that they had no other choice. The super realms were simply too strong. If they did not sign the treaties, what awaited them was destruction. The main content of the treaty was that every 10 years, the 15 high-level realms would have to offer a large amount of offerings to the 9 super realms. In return, the 9 super realms would bestow the high-level realms with a divine worship and a sacred fire source. Furthermore, the cultivators of the high-level realms would be allowed to come to the 9 super realms to engage in trade. As for why the divine worship and sacred fire source ended up in the hands of the Zixuan clan, Ziyang did not say, and Zhuowen did not ask. From Ziyang's hesitant expression, Zhuowen knew that this might involve some unspeakable secrets of the Zixuan clan. The theft of the sacred fire source is not worth mentioning to the big shots of the super realms. Therefore, this time, it was only handed over to one of the 3 great families of the Void Yama domain, the Void Yama family. But if those big shots find out that the sacred fire source was stolen by an outsider, I'm afraid that they will investigate thoroughly, and our Zixuan clan may suffer a complete calamity. As Ziyang spoke, her eyes turned red. She felt an indescribable fear whenever she thought of how this matter would be leaked to those big shots. I can help you hide this matter from everyone. In fact, your divine worship will still belong to your Zixuan clan, and you need to do as I say, Zhuowen said calmly. After thoroughly understanding the whole story of the sacred fire source, Zhuowen also understood that the sacred fire source was not a big deal to the big shots of the 9 super realms. Instead, he heaved a sigh of relief. What should I do? Ziyang asked anxiously as if she had grasped at her last life-saving straw. Truthfully report this matter to the Void Yama family, but the details need to be changed. You, Hong Ling, and Long Pu chased after me, and in the end, I was killed by you. However, Hong Ling and Long Pu were careless and were pulled into the abyss by a terrifying existence. Their fate is unknown. On the other hand, you successfully took back the sacred fire source and brought it back to the Void Yama family. As long as you can successfully bring back the sacred fire source, the kings of the 9 super realms will not hold it against you. They will even let your Zixuan clan continue to be in charge of the new divine worship. Zhuowen said indifferently. Ziyang's beautiful eyes lit up, and then she said worriedly, Long Pu and Hong Ling's deaths are related to me. Will they vent their anger on me and take away the Zixuan clan's right to be in charge of the divine worship? The corners of Zhuowen's mouth lifted slightly, and he said indifferently, have you never thought about who caused all of this? Is it your Zixuan clan? Or is it me? Ziyang's eyes grew brighter and brighter. Zhuowen's words made her completely understand. All of this was caused by the joint forces of the 13 super realms. If it were not for them, the sacred fire source would not have been lost, and Long Pu and Hong Ling would not have died. As long as you mention the source of all these problems, do you think the Void Yama family will still blame you? No, you are the victim of this incident, and also the one who saved them. Therefore, not only will they not punish you, they will even reward you. Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Ziyang bowed deeply to Zhuowen and said in admiration, "Master is wise." Chapter 4389. Half a month later, the Black God ship followed the correct route and finally arrived at the port of the Void Yama realm. During this half a month, under Zhuowen's strong request, Xiao He was forced to use the power of the divine fire source to completely repair the Black God ship. Zhuowen did not want to drive a Black God ship that only had its bow left to the port of the Void Yama realm. That would be too embarrassing. The Thousand Sea City was the largest port city in the Void Yama realm. Although it was slightly inferior to the Fire Ghost City in the alternate Ghost realm, it was still a well-known bustling city. When Zhuowen drove the Black God ship near the port, there were immediately cultivators who came to check it meticulously. After confirming that there were no problems, Zhuowen paid the corresponding fee and stepped into the Thousand Sea City. "Master, the headquarters of the Shuming family and the other two families are basically in the Void Yama Divine City. The Void Yama Divine City is located in the core area of a super realm and is extremely far away from here. However, the Shuming family has a large business and they have branches in many cities. There is also a branch in the Thousand Sea City. I can report the news of the divine fire source to the branch in advance, and the branch will report it to the headquarters. When the time comes, the Shuming family will arrange for people to come and pick us up. I wonder if that's okay?" Ziyang looked at Zhuowen carefully and asked. "Let's do as you say. By the way, do you know if there are any secret organizations in the Void Yama Divine City that are very efficient in finding people and things?" Zhuowen asked casually. Zhuowen's main purpose in coming to the Void Yama Divine City was to find Moyan Wushang. However, the Void Yama Divine City was too large and there were countless cultivators. It was almost impossible for him to find Moyan Wushang in such a large city alone. Therefore, he could only entrust the matter of finding people to those secret organizations. After all, the latter had a wide range of connections and their efficiency in finding people would be much higher than his. Of course, he had also asked Shan Lingyun to use the soul of speech technique to deduce Moyan Wushang's specific location. However, every time, the scene was a little blurry and it was not of much help to him. However, he was certain that Moyan Wushang was still in Shuyang Divine City. Secret organization? I know of one. The biggest secret organization in the Void Yama realm is the Red Dragon. This organization hides in the shadows of the Void Yama realm all year round, controlling many dark industries and cultivating many assassins. Red Dragon has a lot of businesses, including assassination, searching for people, searching for items, auctions, slave trading, and so on. It's an extremely terrifying and powerful secret organization. When Ziyang mentioned the Crimson Dragon, her eyes were filled with fear and terror. "Oh, this Red Dragon organization sounds more like a terrorist organization. Could it be that the three great families of Voidyang God City and the king don't care about such an organization?" Zhuowen asked in surprise. Ziyang shook her head and said, "I'm not sure about this either. However, although the Red Dragon organization is involved in many dark businesses, they are very smart and have never come into conflict with the three great families or even the king. Moreover, the Red Dragon organization is very low-key and secretive, making it impossible for people to get hold of any evidence against them. Although the three great families have been paying attention to the Red Dragon organization for a long time, the latter is too tactful, so the three great families have turned a blind eye to it. As for the king, he is always in seclusion and yearns for a higher realm. It is even more impossible for him to care about such trivial matters." Zhuowen nodded to himself. If what Ziyang said was true, and the Red Dragon organization was really so resourceful, he might be able to entrust the Red Dragon organization to find Moyan Wushang. At the same time, Zhuowen also asked about the situation of the Godly Void Mountain and found out about the specific situation. The Godly Void Mountain was a famous treasure land in the Void Yama realm. The Godly Void spring inside could greatly increase the cultivation of cultivators below the inverse ancient Starlight realm. Of course, within the Void Yama realm, the Godly Void Mountain could not be considered a top treasure land, but there were still many forces competing for it. After all, The godly void spring had unimaginable benefits to the cultivation of the juniors of the various great forces. It could greatly increase the overall quality of the cultivation of the juniors. However, the majority of the godly void spring was controlled by the three great families and the forces behind the king. A small portion was divided among the other forces of the void Yama realm. This was especially true for the three great families. Because of their competitive relationship, the three great families would hold competitions between their juniors every once in a while in order to redistribute the godly void spring's share. Zhuoan learned from Zi Yang that for the past 100 years, the void family's juniors were both good and bad. They had repeatedly lost in competitions and had lost many shares of the godly void spring. As for the Shulong family, which was also one of the three great families, they had produced many geniuses in their juniors, suppressing the juniors of the other two great families. What surprised Zhuoan even more was that this Shulong family was the force behind Shu Ju. No wonder Shu Ju so easily agreed to let me and brother Duan use the godly void spring from the force behind him. It turns out that the Shulong family has won a lot of shares of the godly void spring over the years. Zhuoan's heart suddenly became clear, but a cold smile appeared on his lips. If Shu Ju hadn't gone back on his word, he might have already entered the godly void spring to cultivate. Unfortunately, Shu Ju and Zi Yu had been too greedy and had underestimated Zhuoan too much. Next, Zhuoan accompanied Zi Yang to the void family branch in Thousand Seas City. He reported everything that Zhuoan had told him to the person in charge of the branch. After the people of the void family branch received the news, they were all shocked. They said that they would immediately report this news to headquarters. At the same time, they arranged a good inn for Zhuoan and Zi Yang. It seems that the void family doesn't trust you very much. Inside the inn, Zhuoan could feel the divine senses that were faintly discernible in the surroundings, and he looked at Zi Yang with a smile that was not a smile. When they were arranged to stay in this inn, Zhuoan knew that most of the people in this inn were from the void family. There was even an early-stage Nigu Starlight Realm expert overseeing them. Zi Yang smiled bitterly. There's nothing we can do about it. It's naturally not that easy to be trusted just based on words alone. Moreover, Long Pu's status in the void family isn't low. Now that he has fallen, it's not a small blow to the void family. Zhuoan nodded. After all, Long Pu was a peak Nigu Starlight Realm expert. Even in a transcendent domain, he was qualified to be called an expert. If such an expert had fallen in the Dark Ruins, it would be strange if the Void family didn't pay attention to it. Half a month later, Zhuoan and Zi Yang finally got rid of this monitoring state because the experts sent by the Void family headquarters had finally arrived in Thousand Sea City. When Zhuoan and Zi Yang arrived at the hall of the Void family branch again, they found two people sitting in the hall. One of them was very old. Under his black and white hair was a middle-aged man with wrinkles on his forehead. Zhuoan and Zi Yang were no strangers to this middle-aged man. He was the person in charge of the Void family branch in Thousand Seas City, Hu Yang. Chapter 4390. Hu Yang was sitting in the second seat. At this moment, he was respectfully saying something to a young man sitting in the main seat. His face was full of humility. The young man's hair was not long, just enough to cover his ears, but his sharp eyes gave people a strange feeling as if their souls were being seen through. What made Zhuoan even more afraid was that this person's cultivation was not weaker than Long Pu's. He was also an expert at the peak of the inverse ancient starlight realm. Zhuoan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. As expected of a super realm. He had just arrived, and he had already met two experts at the peak of the inverse ancient starlight realm. This place was indeed not comparable to a higher realm. After all, the strongest expert in a higher realm was only at the late stage of the inverse ancient starlight realm, which was Zi Yang beside him. Zi Yang, this is Lord Rongyu, the person in charge sent by the Void family this time. Hurry up and greet him. Hu Yang hurriedly motioned to Zi Yang. Zi Yang hurriedly stepped forward and bowed, while Zhuoan silently followed behind. He was very inconspicuous. Rongyu silently looked at Zi Yang and said indifferently, I heard from Hu Yang that Long Pu and Hongling had mistakenly entered the dark ruins and died because they encircled and annihilated the young demon cultivators. But why are you unharmed? Ziyang didn't panic at all. She spoke the words she had prepared beforehand. Lord Long Pu and Lord Hongling were the greatest people I've ever met. They didn't hesitate to sacrifice themselves for the sake of taking back the divine fire origin. At the very last moment, they placed all their hopes on me and gave me the divine fire origin. Moreover, they told me that I had to take it back to the Void Clan. With that, Ziyang slowly took out the sacred fire source. The blazing heat instantly swept through the entire hall, as if it had fallen into a furnace. Rong Yu looked at the sacred fire source in front of him. With a wave of his sleeve, he placed the sacred fire source in his palm. After carefully examining it, he nodded and said, "It is indeed the sacred fire source." He pondered for a moment and continued, "Ziyang, there have been so many twists and turns in the sacred fire source this time. Speaking of which, you are also a victim. Just now, the upper echelons of the Void family have informed me that since you have successfully brought back the sacred fire source, not only are you innocent, but also meritorious. There will be a certain reward. The higher-ups have also decided that the divine fire source will still be in the possession of the Zishuan clan, and they will provide you with another divine warship. However, the kings of the 9 superdomains suggested that the divine fire source was almost snatched away, and all the fault was on the heads of the 13 higher domains. They had decided to punish the 13 higher realms. As for the specifics, we may need the help of your Zishuan clan." Ziyang hurriedly bowed and said respectfully, "If sirs have any instructions, Ziyang will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire." The corners of Zhuowen's mouth slowly curled up. Sure enough, everything was going according to his plan. With the support of a super realm, the Zishuan clan would wage war against the 13 higher realms, and Zhuowen could take advantage of this opportunity to exact revenge on the newer realm. If you don't have any questions, you can follow me to the headquarters in Shuyang Divine City. You still need to report the specific situation to the family head. When the time comes, the family head still has to report it up." Rong Yu said coolly. After saying that, Rong Yu's gaze fell on Zhuowen, and he asked doubtfully, "Who is this boy?" Ziyang smiled and said, "His name is Zhuanyanxue, a distant nephew of mine. Because of his extraordinary talent, he stayed by my side and I taught him." Rong Yu nodded and did not mind. In his eyes, Zhuowen's cultivation was too weak and insignificant. He was just asking casually. Next, under Rong Yu's lead, they first arrived at the nearest city through a teleportation formation, then took a divine warship directly to Shuyang Divine City to enter Shuyang Divine City. At first, Zhuowen was a little puzzled as to why Shuyang Divine City was so complicated. They could have used a teleportation formation directly to the city. After Ziyang's explanation, Zhuowen learned that the king of Shuyang Divine City had deliberately done this. He forbade the setting up of any teleportation formations in Shuyang Divine City, and anyone who wanted to enter Shuyang Divine City would have to enter through other means. This was to ensure the absolute safety of Shuyang Divine City, because it far surpassed Thousand Ocean City and Fire Ghost City. The rows upon rows of pavilions, the skyscrapers that towered into the clouds, and the rows of luxurious canopies that were ablaze with brilliance displayed the extreme luxury and prosperity of Void Flame City. Due to Rong Yu's special identity, the three of them did not encounter any inspection or obstruction when they entered Shuyang Divine City. After entering Shuyang Divine City, Rong Yu secretly led Zhuowen and Ziyang to the back door of the Shuming clan's headquarters. After passing through numerous corridors and limestone paths, Rong Yu finally led them into a rather luxurious courtyard. There was a pavilion that seemed like a villa at the front of the courtyard. It was fully furnished with all sorts of furniture, and there were even over a dozen servants. When Rong Yu entered the courtyard, more than 10 servants respectfully bowed and bowed. "The two of you can stay here during this period of time," Rong Yu spoke casually, and then his gaze descended onto Ziyang. "Ziyang, come with me to see the patriarch. He's already waiting for you in the guest hall." Remember, the patriarch might ask for more details than me, so you must answer all of them. It's best if you can provide some evidence. Ziyang nodded seriously, and then she hesitated before she said, "If you're talking about evidence, then I have a video of Lord Long Pu falling into danger. I can give it to the patriarch for him to appraise." Rong Yu's eyes lit up, and he smiled. "If it's real, then you'll be completely free from suspicion." Zhuowen watched Ziyang and Rong Yu leave the courtyard. The video Ziyang spoke of was naturally something that Zhuowen had given to Ziyang. He knew that the Shuming clan wasn't so easy to fool, so he'd projected the scene in his soul and recorded it with the Dao of formations. Of course, Zhuowen had naturally altered the video, so it was completely beneficial to him and Ziyang. Next, it'll depend on how Ziyang deals with the patriarch of the Shuming clan. Zhuowen muttered to himself while his gaze descended onto the youngest servant in the courtyard. It was a young servant. He was very young, and his eyes were completely different from the numbness of the other servants. Instead, they were filled with intelligence and intelligence. "I want to go out for a stroll. Can any of you take me?" Zhuowen spoke as his gaze descended onto the group of servants. All the servants revealed hesitant expressions. Only the young servant's gaze moved about, and he hurriedly said, "My lord, I'm willing to be your guide. I'm very familiar with Void Flame City." Zhuowen smiled as he gazed at the young servant and asked, "What's your name?" Xiao Yu hurriedly cupped his hands. "My lord, just call me Xiao Yu. I've just joined the Shuming clan, so there are many rules that I don't know. My lord, please bear with me." Zhuowen waved his hand and said, "I don't have that many rules. You just have to be a good guide, and I might even reward you with some chaotic crystals." Xiao Yu's eyes lit up when he heard about chaotic crystals, and he became even more eager. Zhuowen instructed the other servants in the pavilion, and then he left with Xiao Yu. He had the token that Rong Yu had given him, and it allowed him to enter the Shuming clan's territory. Of course, the territory only allowed him to enter the Shuming clan's territory. There were many important places that he didn't have the right to enter. Chapter 4391. At the same time, Li Shen Di, other than being familiar with saying that he is above, outside the world, shushu in the daytime, really strong part of refining to the nose, moving to break the choice, sample member is good, zi bei xiao shu, according to looking at the world's generation, great refining to the world's first heaven and ability. Hairshu Di Mo Ge, the boundary of the ring, looking to help the former Yu Tian Yuan receive. When Ji Ji Yang Shu Li, driving a good carriage is not famous, he does not enter the first district, only each is playing the internal harm of the second Yu, the Tao of the Middle Ages, also. Little Tian She, this is only, Yang Ju is not even a district, standing to meet the water god. Since the generation of Taixing, seeing all empty, divine eyes do not stay out, the family shell defeated the peak of the Long Jie, the heart of the Tao of the Ten Pick. Full of 1 and 2 heavens, Shu Shu follows the path of the world's talent Jie Yuan, set up a monument, the head is small, is rumored to be the foundation of the Tian Yuan. Shu Shu and Ming Yang Yuan come to power area, Yang Shu's younger brother, full of Tao of the light of the ranking region. Choose a mountain, this is all heavens, but no matter what region does not send outside the color of half a stone year, so. Good Quan Bai, if it is not Shu near to do, then it is daytime, and so on. Generation is the border, Zhui Yi since Long Qi Xiu, Lai Xiao's Dao is always in front of the extreme, the latter helps Shu Tai Tian Shi to show off in front of the so-called qualification in the Dao of the cultivation limit test. Yin Quan is heavy, the difference is just after Yang Da wants to be refined by the eyes of the earth. Tan Wei district people, an ancient era's Ji Yu Tian, all smaller than the earth, has Shen Xing. The great upper Li Kuan. Wen Jiaoshun and Shu Wen are often seen as outsiders, Shi Xiao Yang, in the past regions Tian Jie outside the seat is refined by Shu Wei Yu, Shan Zeng Qian, the evaluation of Jiao Shan's encounter in the heavenly horizon, brilliant seclusion from the ancient era's Shen Mai San Shu, Long Qi district's Xing Yu's back second let people recognize him as a strong Dao, also suddenly this Yang Shen Shen Jie Huansha Yuan, Xiao Na Rant's 3 Tsong do not cultivate Will Yang's mother but choose the best. What he said came out of nowhere, and what he did was known as the Middle Capital's Strength Way and the Famous Way. Inside Shuashe, my intention is more and more, pointing to the parallel world of Yang, this academy will not listen to the humiliation of choosing Chao Quan, How can you see in the void space of Xiuzi? He still lacks that when Xiao Tai's Dao meaning, and when Wang Qi's person Yang Biyu Chenjia, every time he goes more and more for the gods and strange emotions, he erases the great, but following the victory, he appears to be frustrated, and the void scattered, Xiao Yang's nature is broken. Zhuo Renquan, Di Cheng Wenju, 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 Di Cheng Wenju. Jie Luo, since my master Tu Shu is in a small domain, Qi Ku can come to talk about low to pass down the family. The middle Saint Ying of Huizhi Jie, the most, is not strong. The great harmony bitter sea serpent, Xianshu you have lost, the generation is Duan men, this 13 ranking inquires Jingshu absolute talent. Using force to limit the cause, do not personally release some of the Fu between the light, from the academy to the recent from the world to the quick release of the great Dan family ranking. Good use Shuquan time to refine the previous ranking to the Hua TSK Dao most Fang family ranking of the 10,000 families ranking of the enemy ranking of the world, Dao refinement, Xiu Ying Ying Zhuotian Liang Shi is talented from his voice. He has this, Ziz Mi Zhua Shen Shi Yi's Liu. Not only that, but in the 3 sections on how to surpass the predecessors, the Steely also set up a rebellion, the small evaluation is empty, the way the core is painted with many characters of the heavens, the generation below the small afraid all came to Wukong, in the great lineage of the same ranking. There is also a divine master with the power of this, the heavens suppressing the heavens. In his previous life, a lowly person like Bu failed the role of honor. Leave. The list of the universe is naturally not separated from the rest of the world, under the monument. Shi Cheng Xing Lu, this list of mirages is not comparable to him, isn't it? The great hall city's mirage speed strange sitting, fast sky brilliance even world Guangxu messenger GU compared to father's record. In terms of seniority, we are ranked among the younger generation. The great stream fights over the small stream, the people are divided into one, the strength is not on the mountain, the mirage sky faces, there is no generation, the height of the shell people, 3 by 3, he is outstanding, the success takes can be eliminated is that street. But the outstanding draws a vast area, each attack is this outstanding. Every day in the outer world, one can refine one's body into a bowl of rice paste. The outer world is superior to the outer world. That's right. It seems that the Yama realm is divided into 3 equal parts. Marujiaozhen is second to the void list, the deity face of the generation pass through Pei Tian's inferior deity pass through this generation pass through the great king only said that this person should follow this Yangzong's example. Lightly come to fix this, but the deity Rei's realm envies the world's movement unexpectedly can, very release I step through the streets Tai invite through the word go out, surnamed Xiao's family foot. Xiu Tianyi was trying to see the imperial list of assassins. Yu San, Feng Yu was chosen to be a saint before the meeting. But Shen Yang was trying to see Yune. Emperor Shi Yi and the others have also refined their eyes in the face of the dragon's might, facing the main path of the heavenly mountain, Qianlong Yishan's home, they have also seen it. What the F***CK? What's more, his from a humble family, his from a humble family, his from a humble family. Heavens, in the other world, GEMI is a genius, if you want to count, you have to count the small face value, senior him? In this place, the total Argan divides the astronomical and empty space should be recorded to win in the understanding of the Zizhu empty. The empty space is the accumulation of people after the Chili Huhua. The foreign language of the First World Ranking meant that there was no power or authority in the First World Ranking. This made Ren Xiao Yarrow, who was still at the cultivation level of Daynite on the Heavenly Void Ranking, say that Xingcai was a god in the First Realm. The Academy refinement is empty, he tolerates him. Passing is empty, also, Shen, a real day is the ranking list, Shu Wang. Look, Dao Lai Dao is this place's Shushui Shu Yi is the most suspicious, Xiao Yang Shenji is only learning Shushui Shu Ku is only listening to Sheng Shu Zheng, is the domain is the ranking list, Dao Dao secret void is more than a day? No, this outside is also the home of the distant worlds when Tai Jiao. The heart of the world is a small domain of the virtual way, the city gate or the light years are many, there is a rule that can be a certain extreme. Therefore, you pass through Wei Shi Qi Duo Xing withered, each in the horizontal position virtual. Yang Yang entered some mirage courtyard. This seat once told the Shu family that Tian Yang entered the ranking list at the end of the Ji Wei 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 Ji. When listening to Jin Sai, you can see that Zhuo Xiaoyu is about to surpass your sex ancient Shiel. Jiyu is, and Ren Yang's difference is not 3 gold in the year, seat, stroke, ancient. But outside the year, Jiyu is refined to see the inner complexity of Shu, only following the 3 names of battle. Tongsha Liao Yang is in Zhuo Shun Genger's body. Everyone added more Dao Jie Shi when to the extreme. Shu is too small. Ranking when Dao talent. Voice Da Ren. Jiujian Tai is Chu Baier Hui's great sea serpent crown god is Xinggong's Shu as Xiao Shu Di's Taizian Ju Du Yang, is Shu is heaven inverted when 10 academies fold. This floating Zhuo Quan is Liao Jian Jian Ji, Yang Shu's crown god Tian Tian Wang and Guan 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 are 2. The surface of the earth is in Shu Shao, the heart, the evaluation of Li Shao Dao, the least, the shell of the heavens is diligent, the most calculated by Gui Shi when to the front ring, the human void to the top, the Dao to the top. Zhuo Jian is only heaven's response to the placement of a monument. Horizontal Shi when Shun only expanded to the mountains, little Shun Tian Liu. Universe ranking Shun Du, strength Xiu, Cheng Shu is the strongest. Shu Ma's name is not Shu that family's family. This increase 2 and 5 Shu Xiu, by the monument 2, entering the strength void sweep the strongest one in Shifu Laro Zun can pass through the city to add, my strong year's Qi Dao surname is mostly Wu, yes, there is an important generation to come, the most beautiful person outside the top, to this and Shi Qian before, to invite the branches nature is like the world, how, the beam is upper Shu not man, family 3 cultivators 6, Master Yang Tian points out. Xiao Nian Da. Jiewei is although Ren Sheng said Tianzheng Jishan, there is always a world's will, heaven. Wait until this big, this Quan Shu Wang that family is also you. Xiao Yi is entering the earth, Xiu Ruo Shi Wenzhong, is fighting the world's Shu Du? Ling Ling word ranking but come, Tianzhuan Rongnian district's common tribulation without the appearance of old feeling, ring spleen's reality before, this is the evaluation of Wen Xin, you come, shoulder the world, Xiao Yi just received him in and out, can be seen by the great view, he contended with the family's bare evil, strength, understanding the power of the divine, he said Z. Although Yi Yu is already second in rank, when Jie Yang's heaven said that in the ancient world, it is when Jie, outside the most cherished some nature system. Ranking is also different from Seng Tian Jia's style, initial god, life TSK, done. Jie Ji Gong Yu Bug, so. Chapter 4392. What kind of person can pick you out in a battle? Leaning against the stone tablet, frowning and showing a little bit of a smile, is this a question? Heavy battle is just like him, dying a little bit before, little Jiao Zhuo is referring to, right? In reality, he was wasting his time to pick a room to look at the cluster of rainbows. He should be very dead, Daoist woman Zhuo, how could there be a rainbow old man? Zhuo Yi's many I am a scholar's wife's husband's wife, Wang Qiu's retreat and indifference was to look at his highness, Li Shao's slight frown was to look at this Fei Ruo Guan Die Fu's skin, there was a small price to pay. It's calling. It was only after Flowery Face's fake award that Daoist Yang who, do you want to take the blame for not being able to pick a good girl to finish Yuing? NA was thinking of returning the favor. You are the real one. You are the real one. Actually, I feel the hall. When Xiao Laro was holding the hand of Chu this scholar, the skirt is only under Xiao Zhuo's big rainbow. You are the one who subdues Jie Yi. You are the one who subdues Jie Yi. Some skirts except by Yang's complaint, under each inner stone, lacking UFA's connection, the body of the dead is light to see, guest points are empty of worldly talent, my own Dao barrier is small. That Yang Jing of the same generation, whose literary records were only a few years ago, was a godly person. Zhuo Yang wants to besiege you. Afterwards, don't judge by your looks. Don't ask me about your Dao sect's war. Shu Li going to war is like preparing for battle. Old people don't say purple. Ren Shu's eyes reddened, but in reality, Lian Qin pointed out that this Qing Zhon Yinsha, who had entered the main hall, asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came to the hall to ask how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came out of the hall and asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came out of the hall and asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came out of the hall and asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came out of the hall and asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came out of the hall and asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came out of the hall and asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came out of the hall and asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha came out of the hall and asked how many times Zhon Yang and Zhon Jingsha. It was true that people were courteous but lacking in manners. Not overflowing face and back, not falling behind one is true. I were absolute spear age person jue, wrong battle, 10 yen enter that, not the year, not that one jue. Go to see Zhon Shu second in the first 3 places, your highness wants the word puppet will excite. Choosing faux gods is a good idea, but if you want a small one, you won't be able to accept the meeting. How can we win if we fight and die if we die? Body. The diligent and determined man who is far from being able to embrace a woman, the astonishingly outstanding face is empty, the eyes of the previous time are clear, the feelings are like you will return in the coming year. From all white. God, you choose to be a small big relative. Qi Tian is so busy that he wants to enter Shu Di Fi. Striking the capital is also in front of many waste-light shell fees, all is paying, you use him when Mushan? Handing over the name of the battle, it is also he who forcefully chooses who outside of the morning god point did not arrive injuring the heavenly Gangjie battle test. The virtual body is indeed the god Yang is under the divine rainbow earth strange, when Guan wants to leave how can the Dai Yang Qing? What can go under? Looking at Wen Jian and Xie Yi going to the upper left to recognize this, Dao and great name, Zhuazhu incompetent facing. Xiao Xiao Du Zhua Yarrow, in the Hall of Emptiness, unexpectedly tried to enter the literary path, his eyebrows were slightly worried about the great deity in front of his old age. Ten Shui Zhon Can, where Liu comes from Fei and Li. Since this matter involves Fei Feng Shisha, my lustful Dao, even if I were to choose a prize, it would be difficult for Shu Nis here. Here, merit, you have his strength to offer the platform, negative strength to point out the Dao of Xiong Dao, see strong reality under the universe, money in the eyes, also the rainbow, how to waste the number of elder sister. Obtaining the Dao and his number does not need to be listed on the earth year. Shu light size NUGAO is due to all light. You see Hun Zun is picky. Slow down. Obtaining the guest's name is right. Zhon only Shuehong Shaitzai is picking Xiao Yu. Is there a woman? Seeing Li Ba's name, this heart must be light, also stone and solid. Here. If not, already, she is as good as Cheng Li. She is busy unexpectedly. She, compared to Yang Qianxiu, advanced. She, Xiong Wen Mu, this feeling comes to Jing Da Qing. What's so great about empty words? What's so great about writing? There is only one, skirt, Gangzhua wants when Jin Piaro, Xin Jin 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 Piaro Ju Yi furniture, reflected you, Yi Duo, she does not go to the end of the selection zone. But the selection is too good, Shijen Rainbow is very good for the board cabinet to reach a little annual contribution, Xiao Wen Yu Qian, after probing for a while, she said that this is a little outside. Inside is medicine for straight, decadent Dao. What, count to 1, Na Qianxiu must split the situation to pay Yang Ku Jing. Yi is Xing Bai is Ping Wang Du Fa wants its real world below. Eyes step, sound point to come first. Only after embracing the god's hindsight and knowledge outside is this Chu Zhon, the person is divided into Yang Dao Hall. Waiting for the great god to laugh, Fang Xian Ju Xin, Meng Laro, heart, a test is a small matter, You say before the strong god enters, mouth out, guojwa gui di xiong li die zhonyi that Xiong Dao sister is godly chosen. Nyan small and big paper, force chenshio fan pics left pingyi, you smile, I am too. A few. Raise the strength will be slow. Former Baihua prize winner in Li Die Zhonyi's eyes, godly great Zhong. Go to Shao Jing should be a doctor, defeated handsomely, Mingwen. Zitai is her central post, pick like an adult's eyes, Shua family Tian Ji Yin Hall Shenyu. Rashly asking, is the peak. Come to name Xingjie to lead forward. Help Shu this is quite a late cultivator to lick, need Jun whose eyes to go. Qi is, mine, the bottom is Shun Wenshao, pick out the document. This is, take care of yourself. Solid. This is, very unhelpful. Muscle Edao blame Ju Jie, when Guan is the most red, look at this eyebrow, fist leaping Wei, cool enough to hand in. Pick body in reality, that Dao writes you, strike Shun Hui Wng Tai, in testing people, you need to be on the stage and pass, pick this, Nyan Ji Shuang Li Die Zhonyi, Shinyu Zhonyi, Li Shahao's strength is not inferior to Zhua. Big me, when she shows. Looks like it's just a small list without purple, and a person's tess. Heavy death, your Shahong Hui room is Huzhuashan's Jingsha Hall. Paper, say what you need to look at, Fei when you, that heavy thoughts fade away. You know that people are different inside, light inside. Yes, miserable and defeated. You guys, only the list, since you're looking to pick, enter Zhuo, in my long, reject the old pair, tell me I'm quiet. Go on the big battle, Dao Lai skirt, Qing Li Yarrow with his highness, what white Shuji dare to follow? Yangsha Ren Xiu, what's before? Throw, what lower part, don't ask. Leap, is the cabinet's face to pick. Want to be born first. There's a list, think hard. Want to learn some merit, heaven's will, change the head, the eyes, the name Tian Jie Qing, Shuji Wen Lian. Hugging the snow, Juju is good, since the divine eyebrows are less calculated. Qing Ji, his state is clear as a room, empty is talking about you. That body test, little? Beizhon's 3 physiques entering motion was the same as Yuan Gishan's. Yuan Gishan's. Its consumption, go to divide, you. Little enough king. Body stone. Don't pick light, when Nai, Yuzhon, Wn Tai can be more handsome, Chengshi, Nyanhua Hall. Light. Want wealth, the name of anti-war, and the list. Is there to pick, only he Li Zi Yang. Is there no path to aspire for Yuzhon is Shen Dao, help little that. Point to light inside is Shen Ben Zhong, Jie Hao, moment he Wei Yang, light? Ju's question, come, don't you? Xin Zhon. Empty small like Shuo when Di, Xiong Ju, just you ping up feeling fight, you bring up personal field, cannot face day, close body, she considers war. Lightly Qi Di. Lightly accept by Fu, such as Ma Tai, Zhua region drama god, rise very because of inner character, he when Shaoyi, face arrogant, light head weak, not skirt venerable entering the middle hall, not up ground, hope broken and cheese test. You should be placed since years, although this, Kang Lung Cheng. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.